Okay, got the red smoke.
Gun runs north to south, west of the smoke, west of the smoke.
Okay, copy. West of the smoke. I'm looking at danger close now.
Come on with it, baby. Give it to me. I need it. Get cleared hot.
Copy, cleared hot.
I remember first time I met him, went to his house, and it was just the little, I think it was just a garage. It was a multi-room garage, but it was there. He was talking about building the other one on his property. I went down and visited when he was, and I don't know anything about building anything, but I'm sitting there looking around. I also don't know anything about making knives. And I said, Josh, I think you might outgrow this. He's like, no, we have years. I don't even know if they had moved in the last piece of manufacturing equipment before he calls me. He's like, hey, it's a little tight. It's wild.
Yeah. Some of that stuff when it goes, right? Like it starts to that snowball effect piece.
Why don't you think it happened? So, and I absolutely love Josh, and I think it's fantastic what's happening and that they're exploding that way. Why do you think it happens for some people and not others? Because for every Josh, let's be generous. It's probably more than this, but let's say there's 50 other people who have that idea, but it never goes.
I was going to say 100, but
I was going to say, just to be like super down the middle of the road, 50 for sure. Why is that?
I don't know. Part of it, so I'm in this now.
Yeah, well, that's why I asked.
And part of what I'm in now, so I'm going to school.
Yeah.
Why not, right? 52. Let's... And then if you
need to be, this is a house of learned doctors.
Remember Rodney Dangerfield in Back to School?
Yes, Triple Indy.
And so I look at that. I haven't seen that movie in 30 years.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh shit, I bet he was like in his 50s. And now it just makes me sad. My heart, I'm like, oh my God, am I that? And yeah, so.
I do think it's the key to staying young is.
College? Probably.
Not college.
See
learning
how many times 52 can go into 19?
17 point. I'd have to run that by my quant Glover. But assuming he's not in jail, he probably has access to a calculator, but that's a different podcast. It's all right. He came on and talked about that. That was fun. My favorite memory of that is that I assume when Evan came to sign the bail check that he wasn't tall enough to see over, so you just see this hand come up with a check and it slides under the glass. Which, of course, I said to both of them directly, and they both enjoy that visual because Evan is micro SF. That's what I call him.
Okay, so about school.
But no, I'm serious. Learning new stuff, I think, is not the key to physically staying young, but I think it is the key to mental youth.
I think it's both. I think you could do both. Where
Well, depending on what you're trying to learn. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it helps physically and mentally. I just did it out of a need for growing a business. There's a lot of people sitting around these tables I go to that are saying things I don't understand.
Yeah.
Whether it's finance, whether it's, right? You get into this world where when you try to do what Josh has done, there's these layers and thresholds, or what you've built here, what Evan did.
Today's episode is brought to you by Black Rifle Coffee. Damn. I love this brand. I love being a part of this brand. For those of you that don't know, I own a Black Rifle Coffee outpost up here in Kalispell, Montana. But I've had a connection to this brand for years. Let's head over to their website and let's see what they have. As we're looking at this, let's remember, if you are a hunter in a western state, or actually I'm not even familiar with what the hunting dates are on the eastern states, but let's assume they're relatively the same, you're going to need your coffee. So let's start thinking about how we're going to have coffee in the backcountry. There's instant packets. There's people who take fully robust setups that require, stoves, whatever it might be. But what are you going to drink in the backcountry? How are you going to make it? What are you going to drink out of? That's what you should focus on. At the top of the page, blackriflecoffee.com, you're going to get the chance to join the Coffee Club subscription. This is just an easy way to put it on fire and forget. You get what you want delivered when you want. Scrolling down, you can see all the roasts that you can add to that. The exclusive coffee subscription, this is very Evan forward and heavy, meaning he has a deep hand in this. The example you can see is the Secret Water Society, one of the cooler, if not the coolest bag designs I've ever seen on a cup of coffee, or a bag of coffee, I should say. It could become a cup of coffee, but a few steps in between. And then they got a bunch of featured products. The subscriptions are down here, whether you like shirts or stickers. It is, like I said, one of my favorite brands. Couldn't be more stoked to be involved. one of the best ways you can help the show and support me is actually by just supporting brands like Black Rifle Coffee. I believe in the people that founded it. I believe what they stand for. I could not be more proud to be involved with them. Really happy to own one of their expressions or outposts here in Montana. And literally, just start thinking about this because hunting season is right around the corner. Don't wait if you need to order things so you can have coffee and caffeine in the field. BlackRifleCoffee.com. Get it done. Back to the show.
And me not coming from that background would just sit there and I'd be like, man, I wonder, right? You try to stay stoic or
you give them a little nod. When they use a word, you're like,
you're going, yeah, of course. Yeah.
Quarterly. In your head, you're like,
quarterly.
What does this word mean?
Ad item. No, ad nauseam. Ad nauseum.
Yeah.
And so it literally came down to trying to reinforce. I look at it as like a foreign language. So what I've done is gone to school. I didn't go to school initially when I was younger. And so now going back and trying to backstop the things that I can learn and know to kind of grow everything bigger and just reinforce what you're doing, right? Like just be better at what you do. And in going back and getting that, it's one of those that I look at as a foreign language, where in the world of a foreign language, if we're going to go out, if the U.S. is going to go out and try to do, whether strategic, military, foreign nation building, State Department stuff, you have to know the language. And when you don't know the language, you get a terp. And then when you have your terp, you're so far removed from what they're actually saying.
You rely on them so much.
And so then it becomes all the nuance, all of the unspoken. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go learn this language. So I know it as a first language, right?
Yeah.
And then in those meetings, when finance says a finance thing, I can just be like, hey, what did he say? And have him tell me. And then know, for me, hey, that's accurate or not accurate. So it's just from a power standpoint, being able to go in there and say, I understand what you're doing. So it started that way with me. And then now it's into a full-blown MBA program, which makes no sense. So is this something that's on the record? Because I want to go on the record and say, there's no reason. Why what are you doing, son? Right? I think that's
for you or MBA in general.
Okay, sure. No need to push back. And it's one of those where it's like there has to be, and I know that there's phases of your life that you've been through where professionally it was like you go out, you gain this skill, you come back, you team teach this skill. And so that's how I approached it. We're a family business. My sons work for us. We have 4 kids. Our oldest 2 are boys, and they both work for us. And it's one of those where it's like if I'm going to put them in a better position, if I'm going to build this and create this and steward this, then I should have those things to be able to translate that and push that forward. So it was like, okay, then it's incumbent upon me to go out just like we used to, get that knowledge, come back and be like, hey, you didn't have the time to go. I'm the one that went. Here's the notes. This is what you do. And be like, yeah, cool.
Do you rob them of their chance to gain the knowledge the way that you did?
I think I'm saving them a ton of money because what I'm finding
it's an open-ended question because I don't know the answer to it. Because should they struggle and suffer and learn the lessons that you are? There's an argument for yes. There's an argument for you saving them money, saving them time. They could lever ahead because, you used Evan and Josh as an example. Those companies exploded. Neither of them went to school either. So there's definitely multiple ways to do it. I think there was a timing aspect for both. I think what both really had in their favor was branding that stuck with people. Specifically Black Rifle Coffee, when Evan launched it, I mean, let's just be honest. People are way more supportive of veteran-based initiatives in our era than, say, Vietnam, where probably weren't going to get a lot of support for a veteran-backed business when you got home. And I say that based off of the experience of a lot of Vietnam veterans. Josh, the same thing. Their branding is spectacular. Visually, it's appealing. They hooked into social media. But again, for every one of those that's out there, there's probably countless people who have a valid idea and it just doesn't catch.
Or they just don't push it. That's the other part. It's a big part, right? Like there's a huge aspect of this of you have to be the person that carries the belief forward.
Yeah, because either of them, had they stopped before it actually levered, they'd be, we wouldn't be talking about it. We'd have different examples.
Yeah, this goes to one of the things that I'm working on now is Foundership. I don't know if you and I have talked about that.
Briefly at the coffee shop that one night.
Okay. Yeah. So within Foundership, it came up in schooling when I was writing all of these papers, getting horrible grades, just underperforming. So I'm consistent. You can chart me across my life path and I'm right on. So I'm like, okay, still not performing. Good. But it's the idea of, so Foundership is a first principles discipline to steward belief across growth, time, context, all of that. And so when we look at that, let's take Black Rifle. Mm-hmm. Evan started Black Rifle. He holds the belief for that. Josh, Montana Knife, Steve Jobs and Apple.
All of those examples too, passionate about where, like Evan was roasting his own coffee.
Yeah.
Josh was the youngest master bladesmith.
Yeah.
Steve Jobs, I don't know what he was doing.
So, but it's the idea of when those founders leave, what does that company become? We've all been in groups and organizations and know people where you go in and you interact with someone and they're like, hey man, I just work here.
Yeah.
You're right. Which is so far removed from what the founder built.
Yeah.
And so when I was having to produce these papers and study these things and have conversations with people and getting poor grades on the leadership side, I would sit there and I'd be like, wait a minute. I think I understand leadership. I think I've been around it a little bit. I think I've been on the receiving end, the giving end of good and bad leadership.
Yep.
How am I getting this wrong? How am I so wrong in this? And when it actually happened was I was in the middle of the school I'm going to is British, right?
Do you guys wear ascots?
We do.
Yes.
We do.
Top hats on Fridays?
But we wear them backwards so the man can still own. It's the tall top hat, not the small one. Yeah,
of course.
It's the one where Lincoln would be like, nice hat, my friend.
Totally.
Yeah. And so we had our residency week, right? Where you sit there and you're like, okay, I'm getting ready for my dissertation. We're setting all these things up. And in that week, you have to pitch your idea. I'm like, hey, here's my idea. I'm like, no, it's not really a thing. And it's all based around leadership. And so I was struggling I was actually mowing the lawn. Got my headphones on. I'm listening to a podcast. I'm pushing this mower across our yard because we have some graduation party going off for a kid of ours and coming up. And I'm sitting there and I'm struggling with how come I'm getting these poor grades when it comes around leadership and business. And they're the two things that I know, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, wait a minute.
I'm going to put an asterisk on that, though. We know military leadership.
I don't know. I wasn't in the military.
Well,
I was military.
You were adjacent. We can get to your background, and I don't actually even know how much you can talk about it, but you were around, I'll call it the military infrastructure. In my interactions with what we'll just call the alphabet soup crew, the leadership models are very parallel and similar. I used to think the military was the incubator for the best leadership model in the world.
Oh, did you keep that for like?
Try to replicate it in a world that doesn't have the buy-in, that specifically the military, take it even smaller, special operations, take it even smaller to a JSOC level, take it even smaller to a color on the rainbow level. People are kicking and scratching and fighting to be there. It is the easy. You could say, I need you to crawl through coals, and like, roger that. Would you like 50 yards or 100? Yeah. If I treat the average age of our barista is somewhere in the early 20s to the late teens, you've been around our kind enough to know how we speak to each other, perhaps leaning a little bit on negative reinforcement versus positive. I would have zero employees.
It's a swath of enforcement that's pretty effective. Right?
It works, but because they're contractually obligated. They volunteered multiple times. They literally bled to be there. They're bought in. Almost all of that doesn't exist in the civilian world. If you don't modify the way that you lead out of the military, you are in for a very interesting road. And I think the proof in that is if the military model was in and of itself a good fit for the business world, every leader that we saw exiting the military would succeed and thrive.
Yeah. And they don't. No, they don't. And some of that goes to that core belief system. How do I get an employee to believe in what I'm believing in.
Threats of violence, of course.
Of course, yeah, and physical, right? Like,
and of course, they're followed up on to others. I tell my wife sometimes, do you know why you need to kill a fly with a hammer? And she'll be like, what in the actual fuck is wrong with you? Why are you asking me this question? I'm like, just stay with me.
Well, I'm curious what your answer is.
So the other flies pay attention.
See, mine is so my children recognize that it's like, oh, wait a minute, this guy.
The other flies are not more dead.
Yeah.
But they're like, wow, why did that guy do that?
Yeah. Not only going to hit that fly, I'm not fixing that hole in the wall. So you all remember, right?
It's a great model if you can match that pool of people, which I haven't seen every organization. I haven't interfaced with them all. But in the ones that I have, I've seen flavors of buy-in. And a lot of it depends on size. You know, an organization with 10,000 people, good luck. You're going to have a variety. Maybe a core group of people will, but I have not seen it mirrored.
I think it goes back to belief. I mean, and that's why I wrote that out. That's why I wrote out the Foundership piece, was to be able to define, because what I was getting, I'm pushing that mower. Hot day, trying to mow the lawn, got a graduation party coming up in a couple of weeks. It was around Father's Day. Because I'm in the middle of pushing that, dealing with the struggle of the class, where the doctors running this class are like, no, man, you're off. And I'm like, I'm not off. Like, I get this. I know this on so many levels. How am I academically off? And I say out loud, these aren't leadership. I'm the crazy neighbor pushing a mower,
strong,
right, with my headphones on, and I'm yelling out loud, right, and I'm like, no, these aren't, I know what I'm talking about, and I say out loud, these aren't leadership issues. I'm like, these aren't leadership issues, they're foundership issues. And that was the first time I had ever said foundership. I stopped the mower, and I'm like, what'd you say? And I go into the office. So we have at the house, my wife's a school teacher. So in the height, right at the beginning of COVID, I built her a studio that she could teach out of, because we had 3 of our 4 kids in school during a lockdown and 1 woman trying to teach school. And in a small house, it's just everybody arguing, right? You're like overhearing these other arguments.
You realize in a few decades, people will not believe.
No.
That you'll try to describe to them the lockdown of COVID, and they'll look at you.
Do you know
and
what
say,
I think will be cool is in real estate? I think in 30 and 40 years, do you know how like our parents or that generation of people bought those pillbox or those square cement houses that are, and they refer to them as that, like a post-war house?
Yeah.
Because so many people started building those out structures around their house, like I did. I built her a 10 by 12 studio to be able to go teach it. I think they're going to, within real estate, talk about, oh, it's a COVID house. Like, this is one of those that was built, and they'll go, oh yeah,
I heard about this.
Yeah, like when the milkman used to put it on the porch and just
you'll
set
be
it down there. In
every picture in that era with the masking and all the weird. Instantly we'll get it. Yeah. Future generations will just wonder what was wrong with us.
Yeah, it's like a 9/11 piece.
Yeah.
So when I used to teach, when I was at the agency, and you'd get groups of people in, I would say, how many of you were adults when 9/11 happened? Because adult men in an operational environment, law enforcement, military, Fed, when 9/11 happened that day, it was game on, right? Children, no idea. I have no idea how they lived, right? Like what their perceptions were and how that happened. But I know from my position, it was like, ooh, like, here we go. Right? Yeah. Like so it just had this totally different dynamic. So in the middle of this lawn mowing experience, I shut that thing off and I'm like, foundership. Oh, foundership. Like what a founder believes. Like Evan, what he believes, the core belief in how he built that into a $1 billion company. And Josh and what he believes. And then guys like Jobs, that when Steve Jobs left Apple, what did they ultimately have to do?
It brought his ass back.
Hire him back and be like, man, we don't know what we're doing. And it's one of those, the transfer of the belief that started it. And when it's absent, it's just gone. You can walk into places and be like, hey, man, I need one of these. And talk to an employee and they'll be like, yeah, man, I just work here. And to me as a business owner, and to you at a certain level, if I heard someone say to somebody, hey, man, I just work here, I'd be like, nothing I've done has mattered in this business if that's where your belief is.
I would follow that up with, hey man, you used to work here.
Yes, you are free to go.
Yeah, you know, if that's the attitude that we have, let's kick that attitude on down the street. You know, I've actually spent enough time with Evan off camera, just, you know, actually, shit, we've traveled a large portion of the world together at this point. I don't know if it's possible to transfer that passion that he has into others. The vision, he can try to explain it, but I bet you he would even say he struggles at times to explain exactly how deeply or the why. Yeah, how can you pass that on?
I think it goes through the tangible actions that you do, right? It's the day-to-day. It's the piece. So when I was at the agency, we're not allowed to have snipers, right?
Why?
Dealey Plaza. So
I mean, that was just one time.
that was one guy, one time.
Yeah.
So
allegedly.
We were creating, from the training cadre, we had created a distance rifle course. So as the cadre, you go through your own system, right? So we got to go out, do these quals, and run this stuff because guys are going to start coming through the pipeline. And next to me is a former dev guy who has now worked for the organization for a number of years, had been a sniper, and I'd known him for a number of years. And so we're getting ready to run through this qual that we all created and had to do, but you got to go do it. And it's 25 meters out to 800 or so. It's random. You get in the back of a mule, drive you around, stop you somewhere, and you have 30 seconds to do these 3 shots on different targets.
Sounds a lot like sniper school. I'm just saying.
And you may not be, in an advantageous position to do that. You're like, damn it, I got to run up that hill and I got to shoot
a little
this.
heart rate. Yeah.
Yeah. And part of the character of how we would do that, or the manner in which we would run that system, is we're not clicking those systems, right? You're just shooting holds. So you're establishing that, and then everything is just quick gunning, shooting holds.
Yeah.
You're not dialing anything in. You don't have time. So I'm sitting here. We're doing our final brief. He's next to me, and he pulls a Sharpie out, right? And he draws his reticle on the back of his support hand. And he starts drawing like 400 this, 600 this, below the bottom that. And I'm like, I pull a Sharpie out. And I just mimic 100%.
Requires no batteries.
I'm like, I know exactly what, when I snap that up, and I can look at that and be like, oh, it's this.
Just take a guess.
Yeah,
it's way better than a stressful
Yeah.
testing situation.
Yeah.
I think it's
You're in a one-off.
Yeah.
You're either you pass this or go get on the bus.
Totally.
Why not? Let's just wag this shit. And I do that, and the guy on my right looks over and he's like, "Oh, right." He does what you're doing. Like, if 2 men are standing here, all things being equal, one should be kicking the other in the nuts. For something, right? Like it's a. So he says, "Oh, you're not confident in what you're doing?"
oh boy.
And I just was like, "No, not at all." And I go, and then I say back, I was like, not as confident as a 20-year dev sniper, right? Who's been with us 10 years. So yeah, if he writes on his fucking hand, I'm gonna write on my fucking hand. Like
Also, do you want to borrow my Sharpie? Is that the issue? You don't have one of your own?
Yeah. You're now recognizing, oh shit, there's
Yeah.
a whole gap I don't know in my knowledge. So in looking at that, in that transference of belief, of skill, of being able to just distill all of that down to that core piece. Hey man, here is everything you need to be successful right here. And I can see it, I can reference it, I can execute it immediately. I think goes to the Josh piece, the Evan piece, you, me, whoever is out there. I mean, there's a lot of people listening to you all the time. And it's one of those where everyone that can hear our voice right now is in some organization where they either carry that belief or they don't. And to me, as someone who has created an organization that has belief in that, right? We make the finest operational mission timer in the world, guaranteed. I know that. And it's like, okay, with that, how are we going to execute that every day? And in that difficulty, I think people stumble when they're not on board, right? When you're going through your selection process and dudes are out and you're like, hey man, whether you're out now or on day 4, you were out when you're on the bus.
Yeah.
It just took you 4 days. And then there's others where you're like, that's not an option, right? That was never the question. The question was later on, right? Am I gonna break and have to do this, or am I? So for me, it's one of those, in being able to, I'm taking that school side now. First of all, we all are in organizations that we started that are those kind of petri dishes where we can start to make sure we can take everything that's worked, right? Everything throughout your entire professional life that you can now take into your own building and be like, this is how we're going to do this. And be able to adjust it, right? It's writing that reticle on your hand where you just be like, hey, this is a guide.
Yeah.
And then based on wind, based on this, I'm going to adjust on that. So
that reticle example to me, I know exactly the type of person that you were talking about.
You'd probably know the person I'm talking about.
Well, but it's somebody who does that to me, when you describe that, is somebody who is wildly experienced, because the most experienced, most capable people I know never took the attitude of the guy who was off to your right of, oh, hey, you're not confident, or, oh, hey, you want to rely on your memory, because the most experienced people know that you can free up bandwidth by not trying to do that. And something very simple like a Sharpie. Also, if you're going to write on yourself with a Sharpie, have an alcohol pad with you, everyone. It makes it easier. So I learned that one time when I was flex tied and I had a Sharpie mustache and goatee, but it's a different story.
Were they at least on your face?
Yeah,
okay.
It was all over. I think I had glasses too. And Sharpies help. And also I used to like to draw mustaches on people's military ID cards when they would leave them in the computers. That was one of my favorites. But that person, that is just the distillation of experience and wisdom and self-confidence that you don't have to explain why you have that on your hand, because you know what? I'm not going to say anything. Maybe just try to match my score.
Yeah. Yeah. And he didn't tell me, right?
Yeah.
And I'd known him for years, and he wasn't like, hey, Matt, here's a good idea.
No, because you
right?
recognize what it was.
He was just over there, and I was like, ooh, here is a pro's pro,
Mm-hmm.
somebody who is like, yep, that's a guy that lives at the pinnacle, right? People talk about summiting Everest.
Yeah.
And they write books about it, and they make movies and all that stuff. And you're like, hey, man, there's Sherpas that have done that shit 30 times, right? It's called
in a season.
It's called Tuesday,
Yeah.
right? And they're like, this guy.
People will be disappointed to hear that at the agency, highly capable individual is writing on their hand with a Sharpie. They would want it to be some high-speed computer screen that was flipped up and
yeah. It's a satellite, right?
Yeah.
Now they're like, I've got you. It's this and this. And you're like,
just
no,
a
man.
Sharpie pen.
It's a Sharpie on the back of a hand.
Yeah.
And it was just the distillation of everything he had done. Couple of layers here that I think are amazing. Number one, he has nothing to prove to anybody, right? Staff member, been there forever, just a guy who is like the standard bearer, and he's doing this. Then there's me, right? Walks backwards into a circus and is like, hey, I can be a clown, right? So, and they're like, yeah. And recognizing, like, if this guy's going to do that, right, it's probably best you pull your Sharpie out and write something on your hand.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's that whole belief system transfer where you're like, I don't need all of those years of things, right? It is that core piece. Man, it was great. I can't remember if the other guy, I mean, I'm sure the other guy passed, but it wasn't
I bet you
stellar.
of the three of you probably had the lower score.
Yeah.
What did you do before you started working there? What led you to deciding that government service was a good idea for you?
I'm not sure I believe that.
At some point in time, you might have thought it was a good idea.
Yeah.
We all come to our own conclusions about
yeah.
working for the government.
I started in law enforcement. So started in law enforcement pre 9/11. Mm-hmm. Wanted to be a firefighter. My dad was a firefighter, so I grew up in the Seattle area. He had worked for the Seattle Fire Department, and they never work, right? Like firefighters work like 8 days a month or something like that.
They do a lot of medical calls.
Yeah.
But yeah, 10 days a month is my.
Yeah.
I think
8
my
days.
brother-in-law works in San Diego.
Yeah, 8 days a month. My dad said it was the best part-time job ever. He says it's like camping with 10 of your closest friends, except the fires are bigger. And I was like, that is. So I had tested for that. I think I came out when I was 19. I tested for that, 1920. tested and came out in the top 3 or 4%. Didn't even get an interview. It was just in the early 90s where they're like, yeah, you're not going to get this job. So got into law enforcement. We're all law enforcement firefighters or teachers, right? So I have an uncle who's a couple of years older than me based on great family tree structures. Why wouldn't you be, right? Hey, you're my uncle and you're raised as my brother. Sure.
Drinking
let's
buddies.
Let's not dig into this too deep. So he was a cop. His dad had been a career law enforcement guy. So he was a cop, and I was going through some, like, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
And he was working nights, and he was like, hey, come out and ride around with me, and we'll figure out your life. So I go out, ride around with him. We get done that night. It was a 12-hour shift from like 6 to 6. And in the morning, he's like, hey, you get any closure or any new ideas or anything like that? And I was like, how do you get this job? Like, are you serious? Like, this is early 90s? And I'm like, you? He's like, this job? Like,
We talking wheel guns?
Oh, no, not that point.
Damn it.
Ankle guns were wheel guns.
Dude,
So
I was in Starbucks one time in San Diego. Apparently, there was one sheriff's deputy who had official permission to roll with a revolver, and I got to stand behind him, and it was
Cross draw?
great. Yes.
why wouldn't you? Right? If you get permission, you wouldn't do a straight draw. You'd do cross
I mean, we're
draw.
talking like speed reloaders on the belt.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not like I had been in the
Did
teams.
he look like he was the college roommate of the Marlboro Man? Like they had gone back that far? Did he have that where he was like
He was there for business. More business, less party.
doing the finger touch on the thing?
It,
Like, I don't think
he never went that far, but I respected it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would have enjoyed that if he ever got into a kinetic engagement.
Yeah. I mean, but then again, the guy carrying that thing, right? That dude's the
I'm
guy
running.
that you're going to be like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Like, what do you, isn't that a revolver?
I believe it
Sounded
was
like
the last revolver in service in the San Diego area.
That's cool.
I mean, unless you need
Or it's not.
7
Right? Like
shots.
maybe they were one of those guys where they were like, hey, Gary,
There's no 6+1 with that. That's just 6.
we're not going to bring you over to the Glonk yet, right? Like that's, we're going to keep you at like, there's only 6 things that you'll have to write about.
I feel like he had to pass the same quals.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Choices. All right, so you were post wheel gun, which is unfortunate.
Post wheel gun. And I was just like, hey man, how do you do this? Like, what do you got to, like we've driven 130 miles an hour, right? You're hitting people with sticks. You're pointing guns at people. You're doing whatever you want. Like your sergeant will say, hey, I need you to do this. And you'll be like, yeah, I might do that, right? Like it's this whole autonomous, like what? Like, is there adult supervision around here? What is happening? And he was like, oh, this job? Right? You just got to apply to this job. Like it's the early 90s in law enforcement, right? You just show up and they're like, yeah, man, go for it. So, so normally when people will ask how I went from like small town law enforcement to the CIA, the answer is a series of poor life decisions. But
As is the case
yeah,
often.
yeah. So that's what started it. And then 9/11 kicked off.
Okay.
So in my law enforcement time, that organization, law enforcement as a whole, at least when I was involved in it, is stratified by what you do. So if you're a shooter, you're going to be a tactical guy. If you're great at report writing, you're probably going to go over to some investigations. If you're a numbers cruncher, like everything kind of gets segregated. It's the wrong word, but it fits.
Yeah.
And I came out of the police academy as the top shooter, and they were like, okay, here you go. So you get that group of guys that either are range masters or tactical guys. So that was kind of my coming up, was being raised on the job by those groups of individuals. So that opened up all of those schools, all of those jobs.
That's kind of a big jump, though, to go from, and you were up in the Seattle area at that time?
Yeah.
I mean, not only is that's geographically really far away from Virginia.
Yeah, it's the opposite.
Yeah, I mean, probably if you were to draw it out, I guess you could go down to like the southern tip of the wall at Imperial Beach separating San Diego from Mexico, maybe a touch farther, but you did a pretty good job as far as distance. Was it even on your radar? Was it something that you wanted? Yeah, because it's not.
No. I grew up in the Northwest, and so later on when I was living in Virginia, and we were raising kids in Virginia, you can't go to church, go to the grocery store, go to the post office without bumping into people that are every agency everywhere.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is. So when people are born and raised out there, everybody knows somebody that does that.
That's true.
Being born and raised Seattle, north of Seattle, that thing existed only in books and movies. I had no concept of even an ability to go do that. So 9/11 kicked off. And when 9/11 kicked off, it was that kind of opened the gates to go do some things. Mm-hmm. And one of those was the Air Marshal service. So prior to 9/11, to be able to do tactics on board an aircraft, right? You're in a tiered unit or you're at HRT. And
yeah.
I mean, that's just the way it is, right? You're not going to be a local SWAT guy and be like, oh, the plane was hijacked. Let's go, Gary. Right?
Honestly, even at a tiered unit, you're going to be in the Army side. You're going to be at CAG because that is literally it's hilarious. They were designed for aircraft. Development group was designed for cruise ships. Neither have ever actually been action for real, but that's what they're specially supposed to be. Yeah. That was by design. So, I've obviously been in airplanes. I've never done a clearance, but those guys would get it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, or HRT.
So having that peer group of leaders in my life that were former SF guys or former team guys in the tactical world of law enforcement when 9/11 kicked off and they opened up the Air Marshal program again. I mean, I initially faxed my resume. We faxed a resume and a cover letter from one of the team rooms at First Group down at Fort Lewis with guys that were just stacking shit together and being like, and we faxed them to the office of, was it Kay Bailey Hutchison from Texas? Was a senator that was on the aviation subcommittee.
Oh,
and it was like, hey, here's my paperwork. You're like, I don't know. It's better than putting it in the mail. So I had put in for that because part of it was that template, that linear assault template on an aircraft, was you're not going to read the book, you're not going to see the book, like you said, you're not going to see the aircraft. You're going to be on a response team, and you won't be able to see the runway from where you are in proximity to where they're hitting the plane. And being a student and always wanting to learn about that stuff, it was like, ooh, that sounds fun, right? I mean, here's
it's an interesting tactical problem for sure.
It is. And especially when they lead with this. So going through the selection process with that, they lead with, if you're not sitting down eating chicken, you're standing up killing people. You're like, oh,
okay.
A fan of both of those, right? Like, that's
yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I can have more chicken and have some. And the only way to regain control of an aircraft is to re-hijack it. So if someone came to you and said, Andy, not do you want to do linear assault tactics on an aircraft? Hey, man, you want to go hijack a plane?
100%.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You want to do it with a friend?
Yes.
Uh-huh. Of course. Yeah. With pistols?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
who doesn't like a challenge?
Extremely high budget.
Yeah.
And autonomy to operate? Yes.
Yeah. So I applied when I left there and was counseled by my supervisor about leaving, because I was leaving, I was quitting. He said, 327,000 people applied for your job. If you don't want it, leave. I was like, okay, that sounds fine.
327,000 people didn't know what the job actually entailed.
Yeah.
Because they
hadn't heard you get chicken.
I've never been an Air Marshal. I'm sure the training is great. But I also think you spend a lot of time sitting in an airplane traveling the country doing
It's in the name. It's in the title, which is good, right?
Yeah.
And that's when I was working with guys. Ultimately, when I ended up there and you're working with guys and they complain about flying a lot, you're like, you saw the thing, right?
Yeah.
Like
this isn't a bus marshal.
It's about the airplane. They are now. But post...
They should be, probably.
Yeah. Post 9/11, it was a good place to go, right?
It had to have been pretty mundane work, though.
Oh, yeah. You're sitting on a plane.
Yeah.
However,
I used to always play Pick Out the Air Marshal. You guys were not hard to find.
No. Especially on a...
Shockingly, it's like, wow, how'd this guy get on the plane before me?
Who's not drinking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's not sleeping?
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was good. Post 9/11, it was good. We had, like you said, we had a great budget. We had unlimited ammo. I was there for just shy of 4 years, and I think I averaged about, well, I know exactly what it was. I averaged about 84,000 rounds a year out of that SIG 229.
Yep. And that was a jump from state to federal as well, right? Air Marshals were. So did you have to go through FLETC?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the good thing about the Air Marshal side then, I'm sure it's still there now, is you got a TS clearance with it. So you had the full boat TS.
Infinitely employable with the FLETC credentials. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So now you're in the federal system. You're in a federal system as a federal agent that doesn't need a 4-year degree. So that was still a barrier of mine that I'm trying to get past.
You're going to get there. Pace yourself.
What's really neat is after I get my MBA, I still will not have a 4-year degree. It'll take me 4 years to get a 2-year, but you know,
I feel like
what's that movie where they say a lot of people go to school for 6 years? They're called doctors, right? Like that's
yeah.
It's Tommy Boy.
Tommy Boy. Yep. Yeah.
You hold on. We have to actually. Today is a day for the journal. That is the first time he has ever gotten a single movie quote and had the answer to it. I didn't even bother when we were talking about Rodney Dangerfield. Do you even have any idea what we're talking about?
No, but you guys said the Step Brothers quote, and I knew that one. But
okay,
potentially,
yeah.
It is shocking how poorly educated the youth is when it comes to movies that I don't. Again,
iconic films.
The SEAL community, most of our vernacular came from films.
Yeah, we did. Speaking of Air Marshals, we used to. So I go into that gig because I get free ammo, right? And they pay well, and I get a TS clearance.
Yeah.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
Were you guys GS pay grade?
They came out with pay banding.
Interesting.
Because it started under the FAA, and the FAA wasn't GS. So it was one of those where they kind of entice you with, here's the band. So there's a couple of things going on about the Air Marshals that were pretty cool at the time. It did not happen for my class. I was the last of the plank owners. And prior to us, you would shoot for pay.
What?
Yeah. So as a guy that came from a shooting background, like a tactical, they were like, wait a minute, what? And they're like, yeah, you draw fire these rounds in this time, right? Say 2.4 seconds, and you're at $52,000 a year. Want to do it in 2.2, and you go to 58?
Yes.
Yeah, that's exactly, yeah. And so I'm standing there, I'm like, yeah, man, fucking hit that buzzer. Let's go, right? Like I can get this down to 1.9. What are we getting, you know? Yeah.
Okay.
Shoot for pay.
Wow.
Which was, so when you look at, like we can make all the jokes we want about, you know, the flight attendants and all of the job being boring. However, when you look at, hey, I'm just a guy. I was no different than any other Air Marshal other than kind of my own internal motivation to be better. So I would always shoot more. I was the top shooter from our program. And unlimited ammo, and you're telling me that you reward me based on my ability to run a gun? Like, who's doing that? So
nobody.
Yeah, that template at that time was like, this is what we need, right? If you're not sitting down eating chicken, it was like, ooh, this is legit. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, they would sit there with those quals and those standards, and they'd be like, hey, good job, Andy. You did 2.4, right? 2.4 seconds. You do it 3 times. They mark it off, and then they're like, you want to go for the 2.2? You're like, right? And you're just like topping off, putting it back. And then you knock that out, and they're like, okay, you did that 3 times. You want to go to 2.1 or 2.0? So, yeah.
Giddy up.
Like, yes, absolutely. We would, when we went to FLETC down in Artesia, you'd be standing out of the, first of all, I came from local law enforcement where you're doing reports, right? You're literally writing things out. You're dealing with all of that. And you go into the Air Marshals and they're like, hey, when you shoot somebody in this job, you don't have to even identify yourself. So when the FBI shows up to do the investigation, you just say, if you and I are partners, we just say, I'm FAM 1, he's FAM 2. And they'll go, what's your name? And you're like, I don't have to disclose my name. Yeah. They're not pulling your gun from you.
Yeah.
They're not. Yeah. You're just like, hey, write your stuff, bureau man.
Yeah.
This is what happened. Like, that's the.
Jesus.
Yeah. So I was still working. I can't remember what year it happened, but when Alpizar, the passenger Alpizar that came up from South America that was killed in Miami by the FAMs, who stood up, had his bag on his chest
board?
and said he had a bomb.
I don't remember this.
Yeah,
they actually burned a guy down.
He was right on the jet bridge. So
Okay.
they came in from international, swapped passengers to maintain the domestic side. He is disturbed. I think it came out medication-wise. He's off his meds.
Mm-hmm.
He has a backpack on his chest, and he runs up through the front of the airplane saying he has a bomb, and he's headed out onto the jet bridge. So they activate, they go out there, they start issuing commands in both English and Spanish, and he turns around and reaches into the bag, and they burn him down. Within an hour, President Bush is like, yeah, that's what we do. So we're texting each other, and we're like, dude, I think that's a green light, right? Like, I think when the president of the United, before there's even an investigation, the president's like, yeah, man, like, fuck around, find out. You're like, wow.
Have you seen the
those
video
guys
of
are
him
golden
dodging a shoe at
Yes.
the podium?
So,
he's got moves.
Do you want to get into that story?
Yes.
So-
First off, I respect that he dodged it and stayed up there.
Yeah. So we later on in life, I end up at the agency, and
Did you go from the Air Marshals to the agency?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
We'll
so-
get back. I want to get back to that origin, but we got to talk about the foot dog.
well, we'll get to the shoot.
Yes, Michael doing his job.
So they're going to check this shoe.
Look at that move. He's
So
like, "You got
later
another
on-
one?" He's smiling at him.
Later on,
he's fucking laughing at him.
Later on, he is in the car, and they're driving away, and everybody's quiet. And I know this from one of the CAT team members.
Yeah.
Who came down and worked with us at the organization. So he says, yeah, I was there, man. I was on that. And because later on at the agency, we're dealing in and around the protective envelope.
Yeah, the bubble. Yep.
And it becomes, how do you do things that you're supposed to do from your SOPs if you have a principal like this who won't leave? So if you're like, hey, I need to get this guy out of here, and he's going to stand there and dodge him and play slap tickle with it, what do you do when you're saying you're leaving?
Yeah.
And look at the Trump assassination
I was just gonna
attempt,
say.
where it's like he's standing there and they're trying to cover an evac, and he's like, hang on a second, I want to give a stump speech.
Yeah.
And you're like, jeez. So
Yeah.
one of the gentlemen involved in this, and we'll just leave it that generalized, says they're in the car driving away, and the president says, how cool would it have been if I'd cut that shoe? And you're like, that is the most badass thing. And then says something like, I own the Texas Rangers, right? Like, I'm a baseball guy. Like, how cool would it have been if I had caught that shoe?
I mean, he is, first off, great. Camera guy is now pointing back at shoe thrower. The president is just like laughing at him.
Yeah. The other thing apparently that happened that I think goes to who we are as a country and what we actually do globally is apparently during that vehicle evac, there's people outside with a shoe thrower, and they're going to execute him.
Jesus.
Yeah. And apparently, he says, get out and stop that.
Yeah.
Because if they do that, none of what we're doing matters.
True story.
And it's like, you know what? That right there, like from the top on down, of like, we can't be here talking about how your vote matters when it's like I threw a shoe and ate a 5.56, right? Like it's a, but yeah.
There's
What
another great one of Reagan who's speaking, and I think I don't know if it was pre or post when he actually got shot, but a balloon goes off and it sounds like a rifle, and he pauses and he goes, "Missed me," and continues with the speech. Savage.
So good. So good. We, as an Air Marshal, there may have been, I cannot
Conform or to. Oh, here he is. Michael, you're on it today.
Every day.
I mean,
Oh, except it's muted.
yeah.
Yeah.
Where was Mr. On It every day?
Yeah.
Berlin remains the most compelling argument for an open world. We're reminded of the many traditions of openness and democracy that have marked the history of this city. Amir, miss me.
That is, yeah. Is that 87 off the date? It had to be post, right? It had to be after.
I don't know when he got shot.
Yeah,
Hold
when
on,
did
let me
he get
look up.
shot? I mean,
I don't know. You can't pin that on me. That
stone
wasn't-
cold
yeah.
savage.
Yeah.
He actually continued a bit, stopped, addressed it, and then continued on.
Had to be after.
Yeah, he got shot in 81, actually.
I mean, I don't know if I would have had that reaction after getting literally gunned down in the street.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
All right.
Better than somebody off camera saying, come left 3, right? Like you'd be like, oh, jeez.
That was a bad look when Trump was still standing there, and it's probably an indication you need to have people who are physically capable of moving the principal, because no judgment to anybody, there were some smaller people around him.
Yeah. I think it goes to having been in and around that environment for those years. It's like, hey man, what do you do when the boss stands? I mean, that was the core of the question.
Yeah.
What do you do when someone throws a shoe and it's like, hey, we're going to get this guy out, and he's like, no, I'm going to stand here and talk, and you're like,
The shoe is one thing.
so well, yes, okay,
You know, a guy dead in the crowd behind you and clear ballistic snaps.
yeah.
I think the CAT team needs to drag him off the stage, especially if the close protection special agents are not physically able to do so.
Yeah.
He stood there for a long
So
time.
it was a bit.
It
right?
was a
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Iconic picture for sure. You know what kills me is the number of people who think that that was staged. You are an expert marksman.
Well, no.
Well, play along. Pretend as if you are.
I just drew that reticle.
I worked with some of the best marksmen in the world, and there is not a single one of them that I would trust to shoot me in the ear.
Yeah.
And people think that somehow that actually, they're like, yeah, he told him just to nick him in the ear. I'm like, you people don't understand.
You've never been around people that have been.
I don't care if it's, well, maybe if it was a 100-yard shot. I don't know. No, I still wouldn't do it.
No, it would be, that'd be tough.
Yeah, and then, you know, there's not enough damage. I'm like, God, it nicked his ear, guy. Like,
And he's moving,
yeah.
right? So that's not
Dude, if he hadn't
you're not
turned
gonna-
his head,
Yeah.
that would have been a totally different visual.
Yeah. I was watching that. I was at home working on some stuff when that was going on live. And I saw that, and one of the things that really bothered me was it's just kind of like it stops the coverage. They just go to some random thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, dang it, that's one of the things where it's like, ooh, where's the feeds? Where's the 10 screens? Where's the satellite shot of this happening live? And you're hearing like, zoom in, I want to hear what he's saying, right? Like, it's
the agency suite that's 5 times this room that has TVs everywhere. And
one of them's just random European football.
yeah, switch to the over-the-shoulder shot. Read his lip. Where's our lip reader? Yeah, I wish it was that cool. That's an interesting problem. Those security perimeters, especially, I mean, because there's a mix that, right? There's people who are working there overtly. There are people that are working there. That's a nightmare. Yeah, a complicated environment would be a better way to describe it for sure.
Yeah, it's tough, especially when you have, because it's moving.
Yeah.
Right? You
But a
have
bunch of
people that you're like,
interagency
hey,
overlap as well.
There's SWAT guys in that building. You're like, well, are they good guys? Are they bad guys? Like, they're all good guys. So then at what point does it become who's doing what when? So, yeah, glad it wasn't my problem.
Yeah.
Not my problem.
So how did the job present itself at the agency?
So I, being at the Air Marshals, I worked at the Chicago field office. Mm. So when they called me with the job offer, you have to stay on the phone to accept the offer. They're not calling you back. They're like, if you don't say you're taking this gig.
What?
Yeah. It was a.
How did you know you were going to get the call?
You don't. You just, So it's a random morning, and I'm a West Coaster. So at 6:05 in the morning, my phone rings, and it's somebody from back east. Hey, we're calling you for your job.
Had you applied for one?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'd applied. I'd gone through the selection process, done all of that stuff.
What
but
job had you actually applied for?
The Air Marshal job. No, I'm talking about the Air Marshal.
Oh, okay.
job.
Okay. I thought you were talking about the agency.
Yeah. So at the Air Marshal job, they call and are like, "Hey, you're going to accept this job when you're on the phone with us right now, or we're just calling the next guy."
Yeah. Take your time, but you have less than a minute.
Yeah. And I was like, "Well, hey, when my wife gets home, we'll talk about it, right? Like, I'm married, we have 2 kids, like, I have a job, I'm working at the police department. Like, there's shit going on. And they're like, no, if you don't take this gig, we're just going to move on. And I was like, okay. So I had, throughout the selection process, I think when I went through, they said you would be the 6th guy hired in the Seattle field office. And to this day, brother, I've never seen the Seattle field office. They called for that job and we're like, you can go to Chicago or New York. And I was like, oh, no, I was told I'm the 6th guy in the Seattle field office. And she's like, hey, man, Chicago or New York, pick one.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, if my wife comes home and I've moved us to New York, I'm fucked. If I've only moved us halfway, right? If I've only moved us halfway across this country,
it's good in theory.
Yeah, I could probably get away with that. She'll only be half as mad. So yeah, I was like, okay, I'll take it. They fax a job offer to the police department. I get in a car, drive up there, and you sign it and send it back in. So I ended up in Chicago. And in Chicago, so we moved, went out there to the Midwest, and throughout, I was there just shy of 4 years, and being from the Northwest, my parents were there. My dad had retired from the fire department, and he, the year that I left, 07, he came down with cancer. He was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. Early in the year, it was about January. And so I go into my supervisor, say, hey, I want to work out of the Seattle field office, so the days that I'm off, I can be with my dad. They were like, no, that's not a thing. I was like, oh, okay. I want to take leave so I can go be with my dad. They're like, no, we're not doing that either. And I was like, oh, okay. And I'm flipping through like regulations, right? Like, you know, like the book on Simpsons would say like government rules, and they're like flipping through it. And I'm like, oh, the Federal Labor Standards Act, where you can like care for a parent. I'm like, oh, can I do this? And they're like, no. So I go in to talk to our special agent in charge in Chicago, who was notorious for being a child. And when he would argue with you, he would take his shoe off and like hit it on the desk. It's like
as an adult man.
Yeah, as a tiny little. Well, he's an adult by age, but he was just kind of. So he would, it was ridiculous. So I go in there, and I'm waiting in like this row of chairs outside of his office, while our number 2 guy in the field office, the assistant special agent in charge, is in there talking to him about, now we're in Chicago, and the number 2 is from Indianapolis, and his wife is dying from cancer. And he says, I'm going to be working remotely from Indy. And he's like, no, you're not. And so when he walks out.
I feel like you had the answers to the test before you went into the room.
So when he walks out holding his paperwork, and I'm sitting there holding mine, he's like, good luck, buddy. Right? Like, he's like, I'm the fucking number 2 in this place. And he just told me to pound sand. So I go in there and was like, hey, this is what I want to do. And he was like, that's when he said 327,000 people applied for that job. If you don't want it, leave. And I said, okay, like, I'm fine. Like, I can leave.
I would have said, why don't we line up an evolution where 326,999 of those come in here and fuck you right in the ass over your desk? Then I probably would have ended federal service. That's true.
I mean, where do you deal with parking?
We'll fly them in, Ubers.
Put them in. So I don't want to say storm out, because I just walked out kind of like, oh yeah, I guess I'm out. And there was a gentleman that worked in that field office that had come from the agency. And I didn't know his background. He was one of our instructors. He was also a flying FAM. So we used to have Air Marshals and Chair Marshals. And Chair Marshals were those that stayed in the office, couldn't pass a qualification, didn't carry a weapon. And he was an Air Marshal. He was a fully functioning Air Marshal, and he worked in and around training and operations. And so as I'm walking out, he grabs me and says, hey, man, before you do something stupid, right, let's go to lunch. Let's have a chat. So I go to lunch with him. I had no idea where he had come from. Just he was exceptional at everything. Combatives, knives, shooting, tactics. He's just great. And we go to lunch, and he's like, what are you going to do? And I'm like, fuck, I don't care. I'm going to go home, right? I'll go back to where I was working. And he said, if you're interested, his exact words were, I know a place where you would blossom. And I was like, okay. And he was like, call this number. Tell him I told you to call.
Some random number.
Yeah. So I call a number. This guy answers. And
He's like, Bob's Pizzeria.
Yeah. Jimmy John's. So I call, and I said, hey, I say the name of the guy. I was like, hey, he told me to call you. And he was like, yeah. In the 20 years that man had worked here, so he had worked there prior to 9/11 for decades and was part of the core cadre there.
Yeah.
And then when 9/11 kicked off and they opened up the Chicago field office, his dad was sick.
Oh, Jesus.
And he had moved from the East Coast to the Midwest to be able to spend time. So he had heard all of this going on.
Yeah.
And I'd always done well in that job. So you're rated on your performance on shooting and tactics. And I was always the top tactics and shooter in there. We used to get offered, my partner and I, we would get offered performance awards. They would come in every quarter and they'd be like, hey man, here's a $2,500 check for you. Here's a $2,500 check for you. We're going to split you guys up and you're going to go mentor, right? You're going to go mentor the turds over here and you're going to go mentor the turds over there. And we were like, keep your money, which I literally think he kept it. Keep the money.
It got cash somewhere.
Yeah. We'd be like, hey, keep your money and I can keep you, right? Like I get to keep my partner because in that environment, that's everything.
For sure.
Right? A guy you're going to fight with. And so we had come up through, we were hired together. We were in the basic class together. We'd gone through the whole process together. So we always just stayed together. And which was a little unheard of in that organization because you'd have random partners and we were together the entire time. So I called, they said in the 20 years that guy had worked for the organization, never had he put someone's name forward. And they were like, so if he told you to come out here, come out here. And I said, well, my dad's sick. He's in Seattle. I want to spend some time with him. And what came to kind of characterize my entire 13 years there, they said, hey man, work when you want to work, be home when you want to be home. And I was like, ooh, this is different. Right?
Did you have any idea the pipeline or pathway you were going to get down? Because,
No.
and again, there's so many different.
They're kind of notorious too for like you show up and you're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Like what's the?
Well, it's safe to say there's a variety of. What would be the best way to describe it? Today's episode is brought to you by Ridge. What is Ridge, you may say? Well, if you're on the video platform, they're the makers of this really cool wallet that I have in front of me. Now, wallets come in all sizes and shapes. I think I've tested them all to include like the trifold wallet that I think is actually designed to give you low back problems, the Costanza wallet, if you will. At this point in my life, I am super minimalist, and that's why I like this thing. One, I like what it's made out of, so it protects the cards. I have destroyed cards over the years, as I'm sure most people have. So this, for me, and I actually reduce what I carry in my wallet at this point. So I have 4 cards that I keep on me all the time. And I really like this strap on the back. This is for some cash. If you started a podcast, one day you could be this rich too. And if you can't tell I'm joking, these are ones that are folded up. Let's see what's in here. I don't even know. There's some 20s in here too. I have 2 20s and 3 $1 bills. So if you try really hard, you can get that kind of podcast money. $43. It's going to get you a long way. These wallets, and I'm holding them up, this is what it looks like empty. They come in 50 colors and styles. So if you don't like this one, don't get this one. You can sleek black, forged carbon fiber, if that's your type of person. Maybe your favorite NFL team or one that just matches your vibe, to use a word that my daughter does. Ridge has you covered. When you get over to their website, you're going to find out they're more than just wallets too. They have keychains that are on there. They have suitcases and rings. So give it a gander when you're over there. Free shipping, 99-day risk-free trial, and a lifetime warranty on all products. Now, let's talk about something cool they have going on right now. They're doing their legendary sweepstakes for the 5th time, and it is pretty insane. 2 lucky winners will get to choose between a $280,000 Lamborghini Huracan Storado. I don't even know if I'm saying that correctly or what that is. A $100,000 Hennessy Velociraptor, or $100,000 in cash. Apparently, there are only 1,500 of those type of Lamborghinis that have ever been created. And the Hennessy Velociraptor has an insane 558 horsepower twin turbo. And of course, cash is cash. If I won, which one would I pick? I'm going to have to go with the Hennessy Velociraptor because I'm a truck guy and I live in Montana. Could you drive a Lamborghini in Montana? Sure. I don't know how they handle the snow, but in the summertime, that would be great. But I'd be going with the truck. You can enter completely for free at Ridge.com, so why not take your shot? And if you want to boost your odds, every dollar you spend on Ridge's site gets you one additional entry. So you could grab a wallet, a power bank, a phone case, whatever you need, and you can rack up those entries towards those 3 products. So if you're ready to upgrade your wallet and perhaps your ride for a limited time only, head over to Ridge.com and use the code ClearedHot at checkout for 10% off your order and a chance to win Ridge's biggest sweepstakes ever. A Lamborghini, a Hennessy Velociraptor, or $100,000 in cash. No purchase necessary to enter, but every dollar you spend gets you more entries. That is Ridge.com using the code ClearedHot. After you purchase, they will ask you where you heard about them. Do me a favor, support the show, and tell them that I sent you. Speaking of the show, let's get back to it. It's a robust organization.
Yeah.
There are quite a lot of staff people there, but there's also a lot of people working on stuff that people may not necessarily know about. But it's interesting that you just called a number and showed up. And how did they decide what to do with you?
So what I went directly into was training branch. So it was like, hey, come on in and develop out. So take that skill that you have and then augment and teach within these selection programs, and then that group.
Working a lot. Are you sort of talking about people coming through the farm, case officer type stuff, trying to basically sharpen those people?
No. Next question.
Gotcha.
So no, no, I wasn't on that side.
Okay.
So the Evan groups,
Yeah.
and those kind of things that those guys were involved
Yeah.
in.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. And so
You'd have to imagine those, what do we call them? Jason Bournes, if you will. Wouldn't it be dope if there was actually a Jason
I know,
Bourne?
right? Like never. Yeah. I'm like, no.
It would be dope. I would imagine those people have a finishing school, if they will, or if you will. I mean, they have to learn those skills as well, too. But yeah, what's the recognized term that we could use for the Evan side stuff? I mean, they're contractors.
Yeah.
Which is
And I was a contractor. And that's the interesting thing.
And that's a tax classification, let's be honest.
Well, and also it's a staff classification from a standpoint of when you have to answer for how many people you have.
oh, yeah, you can say your head
You
count
can
is
say,
this. Because
hey, man, we have 50.
Yeah.
And be like, don't you have 1,000?
No, we
They're
have
like,
50, 1099.
We have 50. And they're like, oh,
Yeah.
we have 50. So, yeah, one of the ways that I like to characterize, because when I was leaving the organization, I had to talk with the lawyers, right? Office of General Counsel. And they're like, here's what you're able to disclose.
Yeah.
And so for me, I'm able to disclose my time, not the content.
Yeah.
And what I like to say is I did 13 years of a 3-year contract.
Okay.
And then people are like, oh, so pretty good then. And you're
Yeah.
like, yeah. So I went there for 3 and
Stayed for 13.
yeah. So
How'd you know it was time to leave?
we both thought it was time to leave. Yeah. We mutually came to looking at each other across the table, them as an organization and
Yeah.
me as an individual going, what the fuck have you become?
Let's be honest, though, too. I don't care how high speed your organization is. If it is in some way, shape, or form attached to the government, it's not as high speed as people would like to think.
So we go full circle back to the foundership piece, because that's where that came from. So when I was working there, first of all, when I left local law enforcement to go to the Air Marshals, I mean, there were 33 Air Marshals before 9/11. You couldn't find out
Total?
Yeah, total. It was it.
Were they
it.
cruising around on flights?
Yeah, they were badass. They were. I mean, I used to shoot over 80,000 rounds a year, and those dudes would be like, "Hey, man, pick your game up," right? Like, yeah.
Were they working singleton back
No.
then? So they still were.
Yep.
Oh, man, that's only.
They'd
So
go
what is it? That's
yeah. But
16 flights.
They would also do high threat areas. So they would forward deploy to regions of the world where intel would drive them, and then they would go out and work. So when I went there, it was like, ooh, these standards are pretty high, right? And we're talking about shooting standards in time. It's like, okay, these are tight. Like there's guys here that are good shooters and they're not making it. We used to have this qual. So when you would qual, basically at the end of all of the selection time, This is how dumb I am. So we're shooting all these squalls, passing all this stuff, and out in New Jersey at our phase 2, they had a bus sitting out the outside of the building, and there's not just people from your class that I went through the pipeline with, but like a lot of people in this phase. And instructors, one-on-one, would be standing there, and they have their cart, and they have all their mags with ammo, and they're just running you through it. So they're like, hey, for this next iteration, you'll need this many rounds. But I'm like, okay, blah, blah, blah. And I would hear guys shooting, and then I would hear people say like, hey, Gary, we'll call him Gary. Hey, Gary, unload, show, clear, place it on the cart. And they're like, okay, unload, show, clear, place it on the cart. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, oh, how come I'm not to that part? Right? How well do I have to do to be able to go into the fold, go behind the curtain,
and get a seat on the bus?
Yeah. And I'm like, and so midway through, I look over, and this dude is like almost crying, dejected, unload, show, clear, and go. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to hear ever unload, show, clear, place it on the cart. I was like, oh shit, wrong group, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to be a part of that group. So it was a aspect of my mentality where I was like, it's going to take everything I have, right? Like I'm really going to have to excel at this to be able to be in this peer group.
Yeah.
Same when I went out to the agency. I'm like, you know what? If this is the kind of guy, and if this is where I end up, this guy leads me out here, and this is where I'm going to be, and these are the people that are going through this thing, like, ooh, this is going to be tough. Like, it's going to take everything you got.
Should be.
To be able to do this, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things that I carried with me there, and I've looked for this for years. I've tried to find this quote. I know he won't be able to find it. Probably has something to do prior to a month ago with social media. No, but I think it came from PJ Carlissimo, was a professional basketball coach that had come from the college world. I can't find it attributed to him, so it's not, I guess. But he had said once, or someone like him had said, in talking about their performance as a professional basketball coach as opposed to coming from a college. And they were like, how is it different? And I heard this talk once, years ago, and he said, this team, the professional team, can have anything they want. They can pay for anybody they want, right? And so his challenge to himself every day is, what have I done today that gets me invited back tomorrow? And I was like, hey, this organization can have anybody they want. You can have the best in the world, right? Because they're here. They're the best in the world. And it's like, ooh, what am I contributing today that gets me invited back tomorrow? So for those years, I did that job. When it came to the end of that, it was like, yeah, it's probably time to go. Like, I felt it, they felt it. And what was neat, and it's in the Foundership piece that I wrote, is Wednesday, the last Wednesday of May of 2018, was the last evolution of training that I did. And it was a night evolution. So we're all out there working on this remote site, and this Suburban pulls up. Guy hops out. Hey, man, you got a second? Sure. What's up? And he was like, tomorrow, 8 o'clock, you need to be at headquarters. I'm like, hey, man, tomorrow I don't work for you, right? This is it. Today's the last day. Tomorrow I'm getting on a plane and I'm going home. And he's like, nope, tomorrow, come on in. So I show up, I go to the gate, get my red badge of courage, have to get escorted in.
Escort required.
Escort required. Who are you? Right?
Yeah.
As you're having the conversation with the guy that's seen you in the range the whole time, you're like, hey, Gary. And they're like, hey, Matt. You know, and they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't work here anymore.
Yeah.
So I go in there, and around a table, just like this, dry erase boards behind us in a ready room, is leadership, not just from our component, but from senior leadership in the organization. And the most senior says, what do we need to do to fix this? Looking at training operationally as a whole, right? If we were going to holistically look at this entire thing and how to develop a person and the changes that were coming down from up above of everybody's the same, right? It's the rise of generalism where it's like, oh no, you don't need to be a specialist. Anybody can do this, right? Gary wants to do
luck.
Yeah. So that was permeating that organization. And they said, what do we need to do? And what I did, which was basically in what I've written now about foundership, is I note it as kind of the first brief. Was I took that dry erase marker, and on the board behind me, I wrote down, what do we believe? And I wrote that, what do we believe? And then I went to a man at the table. Andy, what do we believe? Right? And at that level,
aliens are real.
They're exactly, right? Like Kennedy's in the other room. To a man, like they're not going to respond, right? This is super senior leadership. They're not going to have this interaction with you, what they believe. So I go around each one of them. None of them really Rogers up anything. And then I turn around and I write down what our mission is on that board. This is what we believe. We are this. We are the finest this. And I write what our mission is. And I said, do we believe that? And they were like, oh, absolutely. And I was like, okay, if that's what we believe, and then just along that board, I just wrote columns of things, training locations, gear and equipment, personnel, standards, everything that has to feed that. And what I would constantly go back to, and first of all, this was a 30-minute discussion. Okay. So 3 hours we're in this room, and I'm just writing out like all of these things that make up that component, right? Which are similar to components you were with and everything else. If you believe this, if this is your mission and you believe it, then why do we have this problem, right? Because one of the two things has to be real. Either we fix the problem because we believe this, or change what we believe. Because guys that are going out there and getting killed, probably we owe it to the bigger picture to not have that happen. Right? So those in service to that mission, pick one. Either change your belief statement or do what needs to be done to make it there, right? Like to put that foundation in. So years later, so that was my last chat. And
how'd that meeting end?
One of the individuals...
We have had enough of your feedback, sir.
Yeah, no, it was good. One of the individuals from senior leadership said, what do you want? And I was like, you got a piece of paper?
Like F-22 Raptor delivered to my house?
Yeah.
And also a gas truck, because I hear they burn
with a user manual, right? Like
you can look that up.
Yeah. So I was like, you got a piece of paper and a pencil? He's like, I think we could do that. So he gives me a piece of paper and a pencil, and I go out in the lobby and to the wall of stars, go over to a star that was on there from a guy that I used to work with, and I pencil rub it on that paper, and I was like, thank you. And he said, that's what you ask for? Like, I just offered you, like, hey man, what do you want? What do you want to fix this? What do you want to be? I was like, hey man, you had me the entire time. I couldn't be more invested than I was, and you chose to let that go. So for me, that's fine. I'm gone. Right? Like I'm not, you couldn't come up with something to keep me. And so, so I left.
That's a good cover story for somebody who's still a spy.
So deep in it.
Yeah. Layers. That's what makes it good.
Yeah.
Nobody can really leave the agency. It's in all the movies.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
You're going to be activated again in 20 years.
Interestingly enough, just down the street, I just kept buying every copy of The Catcher in the Rye. No? Nothing on that movie? Yeah, you son of a...
Yeah.
Did you even know that's a book?
Yeah, I knew it was a book. I haven't read it or seen the movie.
All right, fair
Rye's
enough.
not just a drink.
Yeah. I had to have been a wild ride there, man. I had limited interactions. I'll save the comical stories of the interactions I had overseas that I shared at the coffee shop. But, only at a distance. You know, I never got to see the inner workings. I've talked with Evan a little bit about it too, or your Glover as well. And it seemed super high speed. but also plagued with all the same problems that the JSOC commands are plagued
and
with.
it's right because it's people.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's people and it's bureaucracy.
Yeah.
They have such an incredible amount of autonomy, but even that autonomy hits the glass wall or ceiling at some point, and then, man, it's like trying to turn an aircraft carrier on a dime. It just doesn't do it quickly.
One of the things, there's a few characteristics that I was exposed to at that organization that I have carried over into the rest of my life and business. One of them is money. So a lot of times in business, money is a problem, right? You go to work with a vendor for us in machining. So when we go to get pieces cut and we deal with that, these machinists, when am I going to get paid? So I lead with that. I'm like, hey man, here's what this entire project costs. Now what do you want to do? And they're like, yeah, man, you want to move up? You want to start today? And I'm like, yeah, we want to get this today.
Yeah.
So one of the things that organization's good at, right, is taking problems off of the table. And then, right, if you remove all of those problems, then what do you have? You just have an open runway.
Yeah.
So for that, with our vendors, we do that. Employees, all of our employees at Aries are prepaid.
What?
Yeah. First of the month, you're paid for the month you haven't even worked yet. Yeah.
That could be wildly irresponsible. So
Yeah.
some
Pretty
people have
awesome.
different spending habits than others.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where it's like, hey, I don't want you to sit here and be like, God damn it, I'm just that, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
All of those traditional issues, scheduling issues. Hey, man, you're a grown man. You know what we need to produce. You know our tempo with what's going on. If you can do that in 3 days and then come back 5 days later, then go for it, man.
Yeah.
Like, why do I need to have that insertion of me being like, what are you doing today? You're an adult. You know what we need to do. Your success is directly tied to your input. You see this big picture.
It drives innovation and evolution too.
Yeah. In ownership from a standpoint of like, if it goes back to that team concept that you want to have, where it's like, hey, if I cut this corner, I'm fucking us. And it's like, yeah, I don't want to do that. You're like, okay.
Yeah, because it means too much to you.
Yeah. Yeah. So those characteristics of where it's like, look, let's just take these problems off. Let's just, in all the vendors that we work with, regardless of where they are globally, like you Swiss movements and things like that, I'll go there, be like, hey man, what's up? Like, this is what we need. This is what we're going to do. Here's the resources to be able to capture that. What else do you need? Right. And if you're loading boxes or sweeping the floor, guess who's loading boxes and sweeping the floor? It's got two thumbs and looks like this guy. And it's one of those where it's like, this is how we can transcend most of that have to do to like a want to do. So yeah, it's that, which again, it all goes back to that foundership piece. And
were you a watch guy at like the agency? For clarity, there's some watch nerds out there.
Yeah.
Like in the teams, I think it was the Rolex Submariner. Is that a thing?
It is.
Or am I combining Omega? No. Omega's the Seamaster.
Yeah.
I swear it's probably the Submariner because it's economically the lowest entry point. But I feel like I passed several times getting these custom, like, we'll get your unit insignia. And in my mind, I'm like, you guys are stupid. Yeah. $5,000 is more money than anyone's ever made in their life. I'm not spending that. Now I look back and that's
7 years of income in
God, I look back and I'm like, son of a bitch. That probably would have been pretty cool.
Yeah.
But where'd you get into watches? Because I mean,
So
you're fully into it.
Yeah.
Now.
I'm kind of like, I was going to do a bunch of inappropriate references to so many things, right? Like the John Holmes of watches, where I'm like, I'm legacy in it. So no, it was, I was a watch nerd as a kid.
Okay.
Yeah. So it started
Did
for
you
me
like
young.
the look of them, or were you fascinated by the intricacy and how they worked?
I think a little of both.
Because watches are fascinating.
Yeah, I'd really like to figure out how it works. No. So,
I mean, ask your sons if they can figure out how the bezel works.
I know, right? Speaking of which.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Dude, every time So I've been flying with this watch. Thank you for the recommendation. Why the red is more comfortable? You are 100% right. Who knows? But every time I fly with this watch, people are like, what is that? I'm like, it's an Aries.
So you fly with that watch. And
I do.
What do you continue to tell me? What have you asked for
First off,
forever?
what is the most important thing in special operations? It's not
matching,
your performance.
looking good.
Yes.
Yeah.
If for those that can't do,
Which, by the way, for those of you, I don't know what camera I'm supposed to look at, but for those of you that have not been in this environment with a team guy, outside of this specific shot that you see me on, it's wall-to-wall mirrors. Looks like a dance studio in here.
Well, you know why
And
SEALs
it's
like
every time he's like looks in the back and he's like the smolder, like it's a.
you know why SEALs prefer a Silver Ranger, right? It has a bigger mirror. So I guess you could shoot an azimuth, but more than anything, it's like
Yeah. Oh,
sun
yeah.
rises in the west. Oh, just kidding, guys. I meant east. I knew that because I can nav. I've sent people back. I'm like, your top and bottom, they don't match. And you disgust me, and I'm not going on target with you unless you match. So either be really good at your job, and if you can't, look as if. Yeah. And so I was like, dude, the red band looks dope. The helicopter's red. This is clashing a little
Yeah.
bit.
So what have you asked for?
Red bezel. Yes. Oh, red band. Oh, it's going to be so sexy. Pull that sucker out. Oh, shit.
Yeah. So that's a lot of red.
Full red.
Yeah. They never say go full red, and we did because you did it. You went full red.
Yes. Oh,
That
skunk works on the bow.
Do you like that? Read that out loud. What does that say?
It says Andy Stumpf, the Delta Force. People don't know this, but I was the founder of Delta Force, even though they were founded before I was born.
You the video? Is that you? I've not
What?
deep dove that where the dev guys are like, we're the Delta Force. We're here to say, like, on
No.
that actual. But you know what I'm talking about?
No.
There's the clip of the hostage rescue at the height of the war. And one of the guys, and it's a Navy team, is like, we're Delta Force. We're here to get you out. And I'm like, if that is...
It was
I've
not me.
never lain with another man in love, but
Yeah.
I'm willing to if you tell me that's you. Like,
It's
that's
not
how-
me.
Okay.
Dude.
I guess you don't want to then. Thanks.
So I'm not, I appreciate the offer, but I'm
There you go. It's red.
my theory is just tell the truth, and it's easier to not remember your lies, you know?
Yeah.
So
That's red for you.
this is
It's red on red.
going to
a lot of
match
red.
with the helicopter. Well, thank you so much for this. This is spectacular.
So that goes to kind of like what we do.
That is so badass.
At Aries, we make stuff. And in the world right now, a lot of people aren't making things.
Hold on.
Right? It's trying to pull that bezel off. Huh?
So far, so
What
good.
is this? Water?
That's Mike Glover's
Good.
water. He used to sell it.
Okay.
And I honestly, look, see, it doesn't, it's much like him. It functions partially. You tried to open it. The cap barely came open. It says every day it's
Are you not gonna
survival
put that
water.
on? Are you not going to put
I am going to
you're
put it
gonna
on. So it says survival water. If I know Mike,
Let's just look. Can we just go to the red water?
Yeah.
I'd rather talk about the abomination of red.
If
That
I
looks
know-
like it was surgically removed from you.
if I know Mike, he filled that up with a garden hose in his backyard. I love him to death, man. He's the best. Actually, isn't that where we first met? At one of his events? We were sitting next to each other, yeah. Dude, that looks amazing.
I mean, it's red.
I guarantee you the number of questions I get, though, will drastically increase. The guy who type rated me in the helicopter, I sent him one of these watches, and he was like, bro, this thing is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, they are, actually.
Yeah.
So, as a watch nerd as a kid, one of the things that I would always do.
Dude, that is... I'm going to go fly today after this. We'll get some pictures.
Here we go.
Yeah.
That's a lot of red, my friend.
That's okay. I'm comfortable in my red. I'll lean into it.
Were you a red squadron guy or no?
No,
Was
gold.
it just okay.
But, I mean, who wears a gold watch, right? Like, I'm not Liberace.
Lots of
Do you know for a long time I thought it said Liberace because I'm an idiot?
Oh, you're the girl from what was that movie?
I didn't know that somebody in a movie...
Striptease or whatever? No, that girl from Showgirls. It was like, it's Versace. Or she's like, I'm wearing a
Versace.
dress, it's Versace. And like, it's Versace. You thought it was Liberace?
I thought it was Liberace. And then somebody said Liberace. And fortunately, I had not said
You're like, what are you,
Liberace before
stupid?
that.
Liberace. There's
It's one of the
HIE?
no. It's just one of those moments where it was a good moment for me. I need these moments of settling back into who I actually am, not who I may
Did you
want to
sit
think
quietly with it, with the learning? Did you be like,
For months.
Oh my word!
For months,
and
I
then
thought-
your mind is just like, here's all the other words I got wrong, and you're just like, oh man, I hate that.
Oh God.
Yeah, so watches for me started when I was 12. So I used to work on a local farm. We're up in a farm community of 7,000 people or so up in the Northwest. And I'd work out in the fields in the summer and get money for school clothes. And so I have this pot of money, and we go to the mall, and I'm like, I'm going to buy school clothes. And we're walking past this store, Frederick and Nelson. And so we're in the store, and we're walking past the jewelry area, and they had a dive watch in a yellow scuba tank. And it was the analog digital, had the little alarm on the side, and I was like, I want that. And my parents are like, nope, like that. And my dad, the fireman, right? Vietnam vet, fireman, construction company guy. Like, this is like you know, our responsibility as parents is to get you a new pair of shoes and a pair of jeans and, you know, some T-shirts and underwear. And I was like, no, I want to spend my school clothes money on that watch. And he says, if you buy that watch, like, then you're wearing the same pair of shoes all school year.
No problem.
Yeah. So here is the problem, my friend. So I don't know how often you gander at another man's feet, specifically mine, but I wear a size 15 shoe.
You're a tall man.
So from the time I was 12, when I wore a size 12, to the time I was 15, it was a size a year. So I didn't know that. You don't know how much your feet are going to grow.
You had a little,
So I like hobble my feet like and I was like, I want this watch. So I buy that watch, rocking middle school with that watch and a breezing jacket. And you got to wait all the way through the next summer of working to be able to get a new pair of shoes. And so I had that watch as my one watch for a long time. I still have it. Still have the little scuba tank.
Yeah.
And I actually don't think I had this conversation with Carr, and I don't think the watch came in the tank. I think the tank was part of their display, and I was such a 12-year-old boy with the money in hand and being like, "Hey, mister, I want to buy this watch," you know, that I got the tank. So I have the tank.
Amazing.
Yeah, I still have the tank, still have the watch. And that kind of started it. So for me, I always liked watches. It wasn't just the mechanical side, because obviously when you're a kid, you're not going to get into the mechanics of them.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, I know plenty of people, again, I can go back to Rolexes. I have friends that deeply into Rolex. They have no desire to try to figure out how to make a Rolex or the movements. I mean, you can appreciate the beauty or the design of a watch. There's something else to try to figure out what's going on behind this faceplate and then create something of your own. That to me, like, how do you even do that?
So the Diver one, which is what all of these started with, was, so there I am leaving the agency, right? It's that last Wednesday. I give the brief on Thursday, take that rubbing, get on a plane and go home. My wife was like, what are you going to do tomorrow? And I'm like, I'm doing anything. Like, what do you mean? Like, what do you?
Going to take a mental health day?
Can I not do anything? And she said, when you wake up tomorrow morning, if you could do anything you wanted to do, what would it be? And
it's a powerful question.
Yeah. In relationships, in friendships, marriages, all this other stuff, there's always something, like, there's the unspoken, right? You're going to answer something, but you're not going to, you know, rarely do you dig into that deep marrow layer. And I said, I'd make watches. And she's like, then make watches. And because I'm a smartass, right, I say, I think there's 2 more steps, right? Like, I immediately go to the joke. And she's like, hey, somebody figured it out before you, so go figure out how to get it done. And I had already at that time been involved in side business things, right? I had licensed designs to Surefire that they manufactured. I think to this day, I'm the only guy that they've ever made a product that they didn't develop and design. I'd done that. There's a 3D target system that I had made. So back in the day when you're hitting shoot houses and you'd get that asshole who would put like a paper target right here and they're like, well, you didn't get this guy. And you're like, hey, funny thing about humans, we have depth to us, right?
Yeah.
Like we're not fighting the flat Stanley.
I'm not
Like,
fighting
these-
Slenderman or whatever.
Exactly. And so I had, when I was at the Air Marshals, I developed this 3D human silk-screened target. So you could have sex, race, all of these different pieces, modularity, that you could put into that system. So from a business standpoint, I'm like, I understand the broad strokes, right? I don't have an MBA at that point, but I understand that business happens, commerce, business. So what I did when she said that was I spent the next couple of weeks literally writing the plan, being like, if I'm going to do this, and if I'm going to take, I'm not a trust fund baby, right? I'm north of Seattle, but I'm not tech money, right? That's not what I come from. So it was like, if we're going to invest in this and if we're going to build this, then I owe it to it. If I owe it to the 12-year-old boy who wants to make a watch to do this right, to not just throw it out. And so I sat down and wrote an actual 25-year plan for Aries. This is how we're going to build it, and this is what we're going to do, and this is where it's going to be. And what the Diver One is as a watch is that timer is the watch that I always wanted to have. It was the watch that I always wanted to be issued. So it was the gaps in the Seamaster, the Sub.
Those are all like dress-up watches too. I'm sure they could be used operationally, but I would kind of, I mean, if somebody was wearing a Rolex on Target, I'd be like, hey, dude, you're kind of an asshole. You know, I mean, and I'm sure there are people that did, but honestly, it's like, you know, it's like a shit digital watch. I mean, those things were consumables at that point because they're going to get destroyed. They're going to get caught on something.
And that's the point, right? Like that's what you're doing.
I get that those watches were purpose designed, but you see people wearing them with suits more than they are, you know, Cry Precision outfits.
Yeah. So for me, it was one of those where it was like the Diver One represents the watch that I wanted. And then it was like, okay, how do we execute that? And it was like, well, I just left an organization that's really good about putting people around a table and executing stuff. And it was like, oh, well, then that's what you do. You just go find those people, right? If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
Michael? God, the answer is in what he said. There you go.
Man, I wish I knew how to do long division, but I can't find a book about long division. What's it called? Like a long division? Oh, okay. So,
what was the hardest thing to? So you know, the full product is here. Is there something that sticks out that was the most difficult obstacle you had to get around or over?
Making the watch.
The actual...
Yeah, everything. Because you're going... So we're not a watch... We used to be, right? In the 40s and 50s and then in the 60s, America was a watch manufacturing country. We had Elgin, we had Waltham, we had all of these in the Midwest and Northeast. We had all of these companies that had legacy come from a railroad watch timer into wristwatches with... you know, World War II and the soldier being able to have that. So then we lost it with the quartz crisis. And
was that literally just a shortage of quartz?
No, what happened was they invented the digital watch. And so it killed mechanical watches. And so that's where the Swatch Group in Europe and Switzerland, the Swatch Group was all of these other companies that used to do each component. So somebody made cases.
Oh, interesting.
Somebody made dials. Somebody made movements.
They just
somebody
all came
cut
together.
crystals and hands. They were like, hey, this advent of the quartz watch out of Japan is killing mechanical watches. And so they all formed together. Now, what didn't go into that was Rolex. Rolex was like, we're going to be standalone. So for me, in starting Aries and in having the Diver One, I drew that watch. The Diver One exists because I used to draw it in journals. You go on trips and there's guys. Grundle was, he was a guy that came from you and worked for us. He was an original.
Excellent call sign.
Yeah. He drew comics.
Yeah.
And so he and Chris McQuarrie that does the film stuff, they had done a comic book together. So he did graphic novels. Other guys would write books. Right. Other guys would do other stuff. And I would always be like, hey, it's watches for me. So I knew the Diver 1 years before it was like, here's the blueprints to go machine the Diver 1. And then this is what the dial will look like. And this is what the loom is going to be. So for me, it was, I don't want to be American in name only as an American watch company and get out of a catalog. And that's what happens.
Yeah.
Is they'll be like, okay, you mentioned the Seamaster case. You can go to a catalog and be like, I just want the case.
Oh,
And
really?
And it's a Seamaster case.
Interesting.
And so from the watch world, when you look at that and you're like, oh, that's a Seamaster case. And it's like, it's somebody else's interpretation, but they didn't even design their own chassis.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's like, no, every chamfer, every angle, every part of that case sits the way it sits because I drew it that way. Same with the font. So apparently you can just go into like Microsoft Word and type numbers in their fonts. I'm not that smart. You know what I did? I sat down and I'm like, this is a 3. And I drew it out that way.
So you hand drew.
Yeah. And then we had to create and translate what that is because I didn't want just a 3. I'm like, this is the way that 3 is. Right.
Yeah.
And then you just go find somebody to execute that. And we're in the Pacific Northwest, right? Boeing, all of that infrastructure built within aerospace. And it's like, well, if a machinist is a machinist, you can just go into a machine shop and be like, here's my blueprints, make this.
In theory, right?
Yeah, theory. Yeah, there's a few more things in there.
Yeah.
And so we've gone over the years, we're 7 years in now, and we've gone through a couple of different shops and a couple of different places to be able to get that done. But every part of that watch, we're working to onboard more and more and more. Our dials, our loom are Swiss because the Swiss make the best loom, right? It's the same loom that's in those other Swiss brands. I'm not arrogant or ignorant enough to think I'm going to go invent loom, right? Let's go sit out here in the garage and see what, yeah.
I mean, it'd be a recipe to stall your growth or advancement for sure.
So it's one of those where it's like, you're going to build a carbine. Like, well, I'm not going to go invent a new bullet to do this piece, right? You build that
Some
chassis.
businesses would disagree with you.
You know, I know.
Let's build the 486572 Creedmoor.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Yeah. That reticle I'd have to write all the way up my arm, right? You'd be like, what's your hold it?
I can appreciate people nerding out, but sometimes it's like, guys, this other one right over here off the shelf is really knocking them down.
Well, and the other side of that too is, so when I started, it was this question alone was the first piece. Do you want to build a watch or do you want to build a watch company? Because they are fundamentally different things.
Yes, they are.
And it was like, I want to build a watch company. So now it's like, ooh, okay. So here's your road in front of you. You're going to have to do all of the design. You're going to, you can build that watch company using a catalog case, but is that yours? Or is that just
somebody else
that
designed it?
you're just throwing your name on it, being like, here's what we got. And I was like, no, I want to do it from the ground up. I want to have it be this. So you got to find steel and cut that steel. So the diver is actually cut out of a stamped fine blank. So in order to make that geometry work, it's stamped like those turrets used to be stamped on the tanks, right?
Yeah.
Like it was and then we machine it from there. The field watch that I have is cut from a solid bar. So those angles and the slope angle, the lug angle, all of that nuance has to be done differently, right? Because it's manufactured differently. So in building that out, it causes you to go to school, right? To figure out
How many steps from flash to bang to get a full, completely dialed in, ready to go Diver 1 on your hands?
So there's not a specific number because it comes down to like this. So on a field, when it starts as a bar, you have the case, you have the case back, you have the movement. Once everything is in play, we're going to be able to machine and cut that watch in the span of like a week.
Oh, wow.
But that's not the way it works.
Yeah, of course not.
Right? So because you're doing it modularly, you're like, now is the time where we're cutting steel. So all of that steel will be cut. Then you take all that steel and you finish it. Hey, we need to take it back. Are we going to bead blast it? Are we going to Cerakote it? Are we going to send it off for PVD? And then the same with the case backs, the same with the dials, right? Movements, we don't make movements. We use Swiss movements. So in our quartz watches, we use it's a 10-year lithium ion, which when I was speccing out what I want, what I hated about watches growing up is like if you had more than one, you go to get your watch and you're like, oh, the battery's dead, right? Just like optics now on weapon systems. You're like, hey, how is a 10,000 hour battery
Dead
every month? Right? You'd be like, oh no, that's going to last you a long time. And you're like, okay. No, it's not. So for me, it was like, okay, well, that's a parameter then, right? That's part of that performance envelope that we get to define. So it was like, okay, let's use a 10-year. 10 years is pretty good because what are you going to get out of a 10-year? 5, 7?
5 to 7 would be reasonable, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
a long time for most people for a watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot better than a year, right? Which is what you're going to get out of a 2 or a 3 year, months. So, every aspect of it was like, how do we bring this in-house and execute it? How do we get it to what it needs to be? How do you execute the vision of what you're drawing, not what someone else is putting there and being like, here you go, here's your packaged item. So
is it cool having your kids work for you?
Yeah, 100%. Being gone for as long as I was gone and not being there, now every day to be able to go in there and be like, hey, what are we doing today? That's the best part of it. I mean, and we make watches. I'm like, and some of that is like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'd rather hang out with you guys and we'll see if we get some watches done.
It's also cool if they want to hang out with you too.
Yeah. So a big part of it for me that I constantly kind of bring back as a touch point is right. You know this, we're a business in 2025. So yay, right? Like all of the things that are involved in what's going on right now
it's been a little bit of an interesting year.
Yeah. So
are the Swiss being tariffed right now?
Yeah, 39% went into effect on the 7th. So I just put out a newsletter blog about. So what that means to me, I approach that a little bit differently because I kind of have this. I don't want to say it's mad. I don't want to be mad about it, but I do find myself in this back and forth with everyone that says buy American and support America, and then you're like, hey man, we're an American company that like that.
Yeah.
Our ability to make that abomination on your wrist is...
First off, I think this should be the only thing you sell. There's one colorway and one colorway only. Yeah. You can give
and we'll call it Gold Squadron.
No,
and it's red.
Put little boxes on the bottom where it's green or black, but whatever you click,
it
it's
always
just
goes back to red. Yeah. And it confirms it's green, but when it arrives, it's red. And you're like, hey, it's red.
Put some really small
Get in
print.
line.
Yeah,
it's red.
Really small print on the website in a font that's almost the same color as the background, so really hard to read. And that way you cover your ass.
Yeah, perfect. So one of the things that I love about what we're able to do is just that.
Yeah.
Like we went to our first trade show last year. We went to Toronto, went to this big watch show. 100 brands or so, everybody around there. And I'm like, yeah, let's go to this thing, right? Because here's me in that idea of like, we belong here. We should be here. There's people making watches. There's companies showing their watches. We should go there and show this. So I go there, and another brand, individual from another brand who is amazing. The brand is good. The person is amazing. And just apparently something about the way where I was trying to feel like I should be in this table, right? It's going to take everything I have, like I talked about before. Going into the Air Marshals and being able to maintain that standard, going into the agency and being like, man, it's going to take everything I have to be able to stay at the table with these individuals. So this person pulls me aside, standing in front of me like this, over their shoulder, everybody at the trade show there at their booths. And they're like, hey, do you see all those people behind me? I was like, yeah. And they're like, hey, every one of these companies is here pretending to be you.
Damn.
Like you're the only company that's cutting steel and building and doing these things in-house as a family, as a business, making this stuff. Like you're doing it. We are all cataloging, we're all doing these other things and just branding them in a way. And so what they were trying to get me to recognize was like, hey man, not only do you belong here, like we are all looking at you like that's the guy. Which, interestingly enough, fast forward to now, this field case, and this isn't my choice, a foreign watch group is like, that's the new mil-spec standard.
Really?
Yeah, so talk about being a little nerd watch kid and then looking at like field watches from World War II. And so when I sat down to kind of design a field watch, so we started with the Diver One, which I drew out and I like. And then it was like, I want to do a field watch. And it's like, but if I was going to do a field watch, it'd look a little bit different. It would have a little bit different of a curve and aesthetic to it. So it took a while to be able to execute it that I wanted it to be. And so having introduced that over the past year and a half, and then to have them be like, hey man, we're a foreign watch group that has been around and was making field watches in World War II. That's our new mil-spec standard, just so you know.
That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. I was like, wait, what? Like, huh? They're like, yeah, you're it. Like, you're the standard. And it was like, oh, okay. So in what we make and what we're able to do, it's being able to execute those small things. So the bigs that you and I have already talked about, they couldn't get you a red watch.
Yeah.
They can't do that.
Yeah, there's no way.
Yeah. And the ones in name only that are like, hey, we're an American watch company. And they're like, oh, well, can you wait 6 or 9 months because we have to order it and then it has to be made overseas and then we have to come in and then we got to repackage it to make it be
Made in the USA.
Yeah. So for us, I mean, when did we talk about that last? A week ago? And I was like,
It wasn't that long ago.
Yeah. And I'm like, hey, man, I walk back in the office and I say to the boys, it's like, hey, man, Andy wants a red watch. And
They
I'm
both were like, that's super not gay. It sounds amazing.
and I'm like, do we color match it to his helicopter?
I don't even know what Pantone
yeah,
is. Good
do
luck.
we color match it to the band? Do we? Yeah. And at that point, it was like, you know
This
what?
thing's amazing.
Yeah.
You going to make a Diver 2?
So the Diver One's the Diver One. What I've been able to develop within that chassis is kind of unique. And what I mean by that is we make watches that are Swiss quartz or Swiss auto. And the auto movements that we use are made by ETA. They're owned by Swatch. Mm-hmm. So they go in Breitlings, they go in Omegas. They're the same movement. So it's that same engine, right?
Yeah.
It's that power plant. So the issue with that is we don't have the resources as a small company that we are to have different pieces, right? We can't manufacture a ton of quartz cases and be like, oh, throw those in the quartz section and we'll get to them when we need them. So what I did from a design standpoint is I built one chassis that can take either engine, which is pretty unique.
Yeah.
So the same foreign group that was like, hey, this is our field standard. And one of those individuals has been in the watch business for almost 50 years and was raised in it generationally, their legacy. They were like, hey, man, I don't know how you came up with that, but I've been in this thing. Our family's been in this thing for 100 years, and nobody ever thought of that. And I was like, well, and I'm driving down the road, and they're in the car, and I was like, well, I came up to it because how can I have a carbine that has 3 different uppers based on the result I want to get downrange?
Yeah, same lure.
But I can't have a watch case that can take a different engine. Yeah. So there's a little insight into how my brain works. And I'm like, well, then what happens is we have a thing. So when you look down at your watch, that dial that you see has a wall that comes up from it. It's a stadium circle around it.
Yep.
And that's called the Rehot. So Rolex engraves that now with little numbers and little characters.
Do they do that as more of an anti, what's the word I'm looking for? The fake products?
Yeah. So they do it, and they'll also put a serial number piece in there to where it's only known to them. So you don't see that they're making millions of them, right? When they used to just number them sequentially, or you'd have a series and it would go through, they would get people being like, wait a minute, this is rare, yet I'm number 2 million this year. So what I did was
counterfeits, that's what it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
I designed the interior of that case to be able to take a modular ring that we can space that. So now we're able to be like, what engine are we going to put in it? We're like, oh, we're going to put an auto in it and be like, okay, we don't need that rehot ring. Or we're going to put a quartz in it. We need this ring. And we can vary that based on the capacity for what we're going to put in it. So it gives us the ability to have one thing, right? That lower, that based on the result I want downrange, we can be modular with it. So it's kind of, you're forced to be able to work with what you have. And so for me, it was like, okay, well then let's make this to where we're never stopped in what we're able to do. And so from that, just the ability to be able to say like, okay, let's make him a diver. Let's make it red, right? So we cut the steel, you spray it, you take care of that, assembly side, and then be able to put it out. So there's brands, like you talked about being at the group, and they'll be like, hey man, we want to do a run of watches. And it's like however many hundreds you got to buy. Or
there was
like
minimums.
that.
And honestly, I think a lot of it was engraving on the back of the case more than anything.
Yeah.
There was not a whole lot of...
You can't... Well, yeah. In the difficult part is the other side, right? Like being able to do that. So we do batches of 1. We get guys that are like, hey man, I'm doing this and I want to do this. What's my minimum? And I'm like, no, if you want it for you, we'll build it for you because we make them.
Yeah.
So for us, it's great. There's groups that I was with at the organization that will be like, hey, we want a dozen. There's groups that you were with where we'll do, half a dozen to 30, or there's guys that call in and are like, hey man, I'm part of a small team or I'm part of a business and we want to do it. And it's like, yeah, man, we can knock it out. And people are like, wait a minute, really? Like I called somebody else and they were like, oh, it's this much time delay and it's this much. And I'm like, well, yeah.
That's the difference in the business model.
Yeah, they're not making them.
Yeah.
I'm like, we're making them. Now, you're not going to get it tomorrow. Yeah. Right, because we got to cut it and make it and build it.
Nor would you get that other brand's.
Right.
You're going to get it from Aries quicker than you're going to get it from the other. Over the shelf.
So that's super cool because we get a lot of stuff where people will be like, and that's also neat having the sons there, because they'll walk in and they'll be like, hey man, I think you know this guy. He just called in. And it's one of those things where they'll be like, he called in and I felt like I was halfway through a conversation that had been going on. And they're like, hey man, it's so-and-so. I want your dad to make a watch and it's this and this. And I'm like, do you recognize this name? And I'll be like, oh yeah. It's fun. It's a lot of fun.
What's the biggest challenge you guys are facing right now? And there is, like you mentioned a little bit, there is some economic uncertainty for sure. Yeah. I think a lot of people are just sitting on the sidelines a bit. Like Glacier National Park was putting out 20 to 30% decrease. Kalispell is a very heavy tourism town. 20 to 30% kind of decrease people are saying. And that's going to, I think that's just an unwillingness for people to kind of just go for stuff. I bet I'm sure you're probably feeling it as well too.
Yeah,
people don't know what to do.
Yeah. Our biggest issue now is people don't know who we are, right? And not only do people not know who we are, they don't know what we provide. And I think I've told you this before. I use the example of we are the most well-known and used operational watch you'll never see. Right? Because it's the text.
The guys wearing them are not social media Jedis, nor are they allowed to post that stuff anyway. Yeah.
And I'll get texts on my phone where I'm like, dude, I don't want to go to prison. Stop sending me shit. Right? Like, because that looks a lot like your boot on a guy's neck with a muzzle, and you're like, check out my watch, bro. And I'm like, can you not? Crank caller, who is this?
Yeah.
So it's just trying to get people to understand, hey, this is who we are, this is what we make, we actually make it, this is what we do. And it's been really good, because one of the things that we enjoy at Aries a lot is most people that wear an Aries, or most people that have bought an Aries, buy multiple, because they're like, oh wow, this is like, you guys are making this.
Yeah.
They're guaranteed for life. You can come in the shop and build that. It's one of those where my old boss from the organization, when he retired, he came out and he's like, I want to build a watch. And I'm like, okay. Like, we're like Build-A-Bear for dudes, where it's like, hey, show up and you can shake the hand of the guy that cut that. And it's not just the AD, right, at the mall. It's like, well, I'll put you on a list and call you back. And it's like, no, man, like, we're making things. Like, come on in and make stuff.
Watch people are like that too. I mean, I know people, half a dozen to a dozen Rolex. They just, that brand affinity and loyalty that they have. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. The thing that gets me jaded at times is where you'll see those guys And not guys that like I know personally, but you'll see those things where it'll be like, oh, this watch that's $110,000 and it's a this, and they bought it and they're like, yeah, I got this. And you're like, man, I'll sell you one for that.
Yeah. I was having an interesting conversation with a buddy of mine. He likes Rolexes, and there's two reasons why he likes them. One, the aesthetic, but two, the value. He literally said, listen, if I'm ever in trouble anywhere in the world,
it's a commodity.
This is a commodity that at worst case scenario, I could take it off my wrist and hand it to somebody. Best case, I could sell it for cash and hopefully get back home. And I was like, damn, I actually had never thought about it like that.
Yeah. I went the other way and was like, you know what? The teeth on that bezel, you could just saw through that dude's neck and then take his car and be like,
there's that too.
And it'll look like yours. It'll be red like that.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I just started red. That way you would never know.
They can't tell. So when you're going through a checkpoint, they're like, no, that was red to begin with.
Who makes your watch? I guarantee you it'll be, I'll just start sending you the comment section from the video. Every video I put up of flying the helicopter, people ask.
Yeah. It's one of the things that I enjoy, that I can look at what I made and be happy about, is when you look across the room and you see a Diver 1, you know what it is. You're like, hey man, that's a Diver 1. And you're like, hey, there's a story that a guy told me where they were out for SHOT Show, and he's with his wife, and they're at a restaurant, and it's crowded and packed, and there's a small table next to him, and a couple comes over and sits down, and he looks over there, and he's like, how do you know Matt? And the guy's like, oh, I worked with him at the organization. And then he looks down and he sees my buddy's wearing one of the watches, and he's like, how do you know him? And he was like, oh, he was my primary instructor when I went through the pipe. And he said for 2 hours, him and his wife and that guy, they were just sitting there having to be like, hey, there you go. And so it's kind of cool to be able to have that peace where you're like, not peace like at peace, but like a peace where you're like, this is a thing that is a catalyst for these other aspects of how it works. Because being a watch is just a part of it, right? You're a helo guy, you're a climber, you're a wingsuit guy, you're a swimmer, you're a father, you're a business, all this stuff. In a watch is just an aspect of that. Yeah. And it's kind of like we get to be there for that. So that's what's really cool, is where it's like, hey, as we continue to push this out and develop these. And so from a dive standpoint on the Diver, I built that case to be able to have not only a quartz movement, but an auto movement and then a GMT movement. Really? So in that same piece, you can have that. Same with a field. This is a GMT field, so it can be a quartz, it can be a standard auto, or it can be a GMT. And then the chronograph, so I've been working on a chronograph for a couple of years because I want it to be a certain way. Yeah. Most chronos are like a 3-button chrono, and it's all kind of the same. And I was like, no, I think if we can make that fit within what we already do, then you get this additional layer of. I had an instructor once. He was one of the core Air Marshal instructors who said, be wary of someone one question deep. And it's like the depth of knowledge is what separates professionals, right, from amateurs. And so for me, looking at it from a depth of knowledge standpoint and being able to have that one chassis, like how far back did you have to design that piece to be able to accept something so far downstream to be able to work? And it was like, yeah, man, we're not one question deep, right? Yeah. Like it's one of those where it's like this design, that piece, it's not. One of the recent writings that I just put out was like the lie of iteration, where companies are having to iterate a new thing to get you to buy a new thing.
It's almost industry standard across all industries.
It is, but if you look at Rolex, like the Submariner that your grandfather could have and the sub that your grandson can have are going to be similar. Yeah. Right?
They're one of the few exceptions. Yeah.
Which is, and so for me, why would I ever change the Diver 1? That thing's 1,000-meter rated watch, right? And that's...
I don't ever want to dive that.
No, you know what I mean? And what I always said, was like, no, it's not for you.
Yeah.
Right? It's for your kid when they do a recovery and they're like, hey, your dad's watch is still working.
Yeah.
Right? Like
He's gone, but here's
Yeah.
the bone that it was still attached to. We could find it because it was red. Everything else down there had
exactly,
no color.
Yeah, couldn't see it. So for me, it's one of those that it's like, hey, why, if you have made something that is true, and if you've made something that performs, and if you've made something that kind of works in all these other environments, then you don't need the live iteration of like, hey, what are you going to try to sell them this year? Like, I'm not going to try to sell them anything. That's what we make, right?
Yeah.
If the Rolex Submariner is the 911 of watches, right? Which I believe it is, right? You can look at a 911 and see that same design
sure.
language throughout the entire thing. Then that's the 1911 of watches. Why would you change that? There are operational groups right now. They're like, yeah, man, this is 1911. Why would I ever fucking do anything different? Like, you wouldn't. I'm just going to tune it a little better.
Yeah.
Right? I might make it a different color.
Of course.
Make it red.
Man. Only if you want to be seen.
Yeah. And so for me, it's one of those where it's like, yeah, that works. In what I see a lot now, and we can see it in people, we can see it in business, we can see it, is people won't say what they believe in, and they won't stay with what their actions are. They're like, you know what? I'm going to change based on what's happening. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
We've made something that works, and it performs. The performance envelope of what we're able to do exceeds what's necessary. And then it's like, then why wouldn't that be the standard? Why wouldn't you keep that? It's like, well, you might lose some. Okay.
Totally.
Yeah.
They're not really your core
Yeah.
customer anyway.
Don't come.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Where can people find them?
arieswatches.com.
Is there anywhere else? Where can I find like a good Chinese knockoff, like Amazon or Alibaba?
You talking about people or a watch?
The watch.
Okay, did you
Just joking.
human trafficking? Yeah, gosh, I don't know. I wasn't involved in that type of human trafficking. Be like, is there anyone in this trunk? I need to know. Is there anyone in this trunk before we get to that? Yeah, so we're at arieswatches.com.
I think it's so cool that it's homegrown. It's your family business. I just think that's awesome, man. It's so rare.
We're doing a build out right now. I just put it out. It's our Liberty project, where it's 2,500 watches, which is about what we make in a year. It's 2,500 pieces. 2,500, and we're looking at building those now. You can get a diver, or you can get a field, and it is our capital project to actually be like, this is what we are. Like, if you believe in American manufacturing and to talk about it, then buy this, right? Because it's like cut here, made here. The field watch goes for the infrastructure for our machinery. So right now we talk about in-house, but our machinist isn't in-house, right? It's just down the street. And it's like, nope, let's bring that in. Let's get under one
Vertically
roof.
integrate.
Yeah, which is interesting. If you look at Rolex again, for the first 100 years, they didn't make their own movements. You not know that?
Really?
Yeah.
No, I
yeah.
wouldn't have guessed that.
Yeah. So not until probably about 20 years ago, they spent just over $1 billion to buy the movement company that was making their movements.
Oh, just do that.
Yeah. I know. That's what I did.
Yeah, the template's
'cause
out
you,
there.
You write it on the check.
Yeah.
Right? You just, here's my 1.2
Try to get
billion.
it all into the building before they try to cash
Yeah,
it.
that was the other part.
Yeah. I mean, clearly the roadmap has been established on what you need to do.
I think you give it to them at 4 o'clock on a Friday, right? That's what I'm going to do. So it was like, yeah, the fields is going to be the machinery,
Yep.
and then the divers is going to be the infrastructure. So it's like for
Are you going to
every
try to get all of them sold before you build them? Or is this going to be...
no, we're doing them.
Okay.
We're doing them as you buy. They're going out, and then it's like you buy that diver for the infrastructure, and it's like that name on that brick in that ground. It's like, come over here and be like, yeah, that's what you made,
Hell yeah.
right? Like, you built that. Like, we
You should put the names
that.
up in there somewhere.
are.
I was
That's what
gonna
I'm
say-
saying.
yeah,
like,
that'd be
it's you're in the foundation or you're on the machine.
Hell
so
yeah. That's awesome.
It's like, come on in and engrave your watch on a machine that has your name on it. And it's 2,500 at 2,500, which realistically, that diver or that field watch with that movement that's in the Breitlings, in the Omegas, and in that piece, that's a like easy day, man. Where do we go?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's
it's
awesome.
cool. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. They won't be red, but if you want it to be red, they will be.
I mean, why limit people like that?
I don't know.
I feel like the amount
taste,
of red orders,
maybe?
I mean,
Maybe?
good taste.
Okay.
I feel like the amount of red orders that you are going to get is going to exponentially go up because it's currently at
It
0.
will. If
so
it
the
was-
first one
yes.
is.
Yes, if it was 1, it would exponentially be higher.
That's what I'm saying. It's really going to trail off in the
I
subsequent
like your
years.
math. You should take my MBA math class.
I mean, the first year, it's people are, oh, look at our first year growth. I'm like, listen, buddy, I'm not a business
doubled
expert.
it.
Yeah, you certainly did double
Yeah.
it, if not 5 billion% higher. Hit me back at your 5, buddy.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure.
Awesome.
Well, cool, man. Let's, that's good. It gives you a chance to get back on the road if you want to.
Yeah, let's go put that red thing in the helicopter and see what's up.
We can go out to the heli if you want. We can go check it out.
Yeah, why not?
Cool.
Thanks
All
for
right,
having
yeah.
me, man. I know what it takes to do this, and I appreciate it.
I mean, mostly Michael's doing stuff over there. You notice how he doesn't even keep the microphone by his face?
I
I see
barely
he's over
even
there
do
watching
anything.
the movies, though. That's pretty cool.
He's
Oh,
over
yeah.
there. The problem is he's in my Google account. So if anybody's going to prison, it's likely going to be me.
Yeah.
We were looking at Feet Finder one day out of pure research, obviously. How many categories, Michael, do you think there were?
Oh, at least like 50.
One of the categories was stinky feet. These were pictures only on the line.
Videos or just still pics? Asking for a friend.
We went no farther than the landing page, which honestly is probably too far.
Yeah, like whitehouse.com.
Fuck.
So when did you ever get those? So we used to get those working at the government where in an election year, they would be like, if you go to whitehouse.com, you're getting fired. They're like, whitehouse.com is a porn site.
Totally.
And if you go to that, like we're telling you, a year out before the election, you
are
can't use the excuse
crucified.
of like, well, I'm just trying to understand how civics works. I'm like, no, it was awesome.
Stinky feet. We didn't click on that, but I just imagine that it's somebody stomping their foot on dog shit or something. It's not a scratch and sniff site, you know?
How do you...
There
How
was
often do you talk to like a mental health professional? Like, is that's
Oh,
where
I'm
you
the-
go? Is somebody
I am
stomping
the
dog
most.
shit?
Well, it said
Not
stinky
like
feet.
maybe somebody in their Tory birches that just happened to be walking around. Wait, sorry.
I don't know.
That's-
I'm the most
Stop
sane person I
recording.
know.
Oh, well.